The day my contract finally died, I celebrated with a 9 yuan plate of fried noodles. Not champagne, not a party, noodles, on a plastic stool, outside the 50-story glass tower of Huangchao Entertainment, one of the biggest talent companies in the country. I sat there slurping and looking up at the building that had spent 2 years methodically deleting my existence, and I raised a chopstick at it like a toast. Cheers, you beautiful corporate nightmare. We're done. Quick context, because my situation was genuinely stupid. 2 years ago, I won a National Idol survival show, first place, out of thousands. I signed with Huang Chao, debuted in a boy group, and had exactly 1 good week before my best friend in the company sold me out. He recorded me venting about a corrupt executive, edited it into something career-ending, and mailed it upstairs with a bow on it. The company didn't fire me. Oh no, firing me would have been mercy. They shelved me, kept my contract, gave me 0 work, and made sure nobody else could touch me either. For 2 years, I was a ghost with a legally binding body, and it got pettier. I tried singing in bars. Every bar in the city mysteriously fired me within a week. I tried busking. City inspectors materialized out of thin air and smashed my speaker. Somebody with money was paying to keep my mouth shut professionally. I ended up carrying suitcases at a hotel while my old groupmate, the friend who sold me, became the hottest young star in the country, using resources that used to have my name on them. His name is Wei Cheng. Remember it, because this entire story is basically me slowly lowering him into a volcano. Oh, and one more thing. The guy sitting on this plastic stool isn't the original owner of this face. I transmigrated into this body half a month ago, straight into this parallel world where the country is a military and economic superpower, but the entertainment industry is a wasteland. Music, novels, movies, everything here is running about 30 years behind the world I died in. Imagine walking into a desert while carrying an ocean. That's me. My old world's entire golden age of entertainment is sitting in my head, and this world has never heard any of it. Also, I have a system. Obviously, I have a system. I called it up right there over the noodles. Lin Xuan, age 22, occupation, idol singer, former, and the system genuinely put former in there, which felt like a personal attack. Popularity, 5. Not 5 million, 5. 5 people on this planet remembered I existed, and I'm pretty sure 2 of them were debt collectors. But there was one item in the inventory, a new player gift pack. It had been sitting there for 2 weeks because I'm not an idiot. My contract said anything I gained while signed belonged partially to Huang Chao. So I waited. The second that contract dissolved, I opened it. System, use the newbie gift pack. 4 rewards dropped into me at once, and I nearly bit through my chopsticks. Perfect pitch, the 1 in 10 million ear that Beethoven ran on, a god-tier voice, god-tier guitar, and 1 complete song from my past life, lyrics, melody, arrangement, everything. Xiao Cho. 8 toasts of wine to drown your sorrows. In my old world, that song did 100 million plays in a day and 7 billion in 3 years. Here, nobody had ever heard it. I tested the voice quietly between noodle bites. Ah. Ah? Ah? The sound that came out of me was not my sound. It was every sound. I could go crystal clear and ethereal, then drop into gravel deep, then float somewhere silky in the middle, all controlled to the millimeter by the perfect pitch. 1 throat, an entire industry's worth of voices in it. The auntie at the noodle stand asked if I was choking. Ma'am, no. I'm rehearsing world domination. Here's the beautiful part about this world. Copyright actually works here. The government props up the entertainment industry, every creator registers with an official guild, piracy literally does not exist, and download numbers are real. No bots, no bot charts, 1 purchase per human being. 3 yuan per song download, and during this month, the industry's official newcomer protection month, rookies keep 70%. The big established singers all sit out the month, so new blood gets a fair shot at the rankings. I got home. Home being a single room so small the mold had to take turns growing, opened my laptop and registered Xiao Cho under my own name with the Singers Guild. Lyrics, me. Composition, me. All rights, me, me, me. Then I looked at the newcomer month leaderboard and did some honest math. It was March 22nd, 8 days left in the month. The number 1 rookie song had 630,000 downloads, built up over 3 weeks with a major label shoving it. Everyone would call entering this late suicide. Everyone had not heard my song. I recorded it that night in my room with the original owner's cheap microphone. The poor kid had kept practicing alone for 2 years, buying gear with part-time money, never letting the dream die. And honestly, that's the part of this body I respect most. The recording conditions were tragic. Nabonik stomping upstairs, somebody's scooter alarm going off twice. At one point, actual fireworks in the distance, which, fine, I kept those. They weirdly fit the song. 3 takes, uploaded, submitted to the Rookie channel for review. Then I went downstairs and bought another plate of fried noodles, because a man conquering an industry still needs dinner, and waited for the world to notice me. It took 5 minutes. Let me show you the other side of those 5 minutes, because I found out later exactly how it went down. Across town, in the Singers Guild review office, sat a reviewer named Ye Qing, a woman whose job during Newcomer Month was legally listening to terrible music for 8 hours a day. Aspiring rookies were carpet bombing her queue with songs that sounded like karaoke recorded inside a washing machine. She clicked my file, expecting more pain. Title: Zhao Cho. She actually joked out loud, "Hope this doesn't add to my sorrows." Then the intro hit, and she sat up. Then the first verse hit, "Walk into this playground of fame carrying all your dreams, all those faces, all that makeup, and nobody remembers what you used to look like." And she stopped moving entirely. See, back in middle school, she dropped out for a year to chase singing. Everyone had laughed at her. She'd spent a decade pretending she was over it. By the chorus, a toast to the sunrise, a toast to the moonlight, a toast to the hometown and the far road, a toast to freedom and a toast to death, the headphones came off and her face was wet. She approved my song. Then she did 3 things that were absolutely not in her job description. She slapped it onto the Newcomer Month front page recommendation slot. She bought a copy with her own money, the first paid download of my career, and she picked up her phone, called a number, and said, "Hi, I want to learn to sing." Then she quit her job. My song had been public for 5 minutes, and it had already unemployed someone, beautifully. Back to me, mid-noodle. My phone buzzed. Official guild text. "Your song, Xiao Cho, has earned over 200 yuan. Please link a bank card to withdraw." I stared at it. The song was 3 minutes long. It had been live for 5. 200 yuan meant over 100 people had heard a song by an absolute nobody and paid for it inside the length of a bathroom break. I opened the backstage panel. 137 downloads, 61 comments. The numbers were climbing while I watched, like a heart monitor on someone getting progressively more alive. The top comment was from the reviewer. She wrote that she'd been the first paid listener, that she'd once been mocked out of her singing dream, that this song made her cry, and that she just handed in her resignation to go chase it again, and she was front-paging the song on her way out as a gift to every lost person like her. Under it, a wall of strangers cheering her on. I sat there with my noodles getting cold, feeling something I hadn't planned for. I came here to conquer. Apparently, I was also going to be rescuing people. Fine. Both. That night, Ye Qing became my first apostle. She pushed the song into every group chat she had, then hit the forums, evangelizing like rent was due. At midnight, the daily chart refreshed, and she nearly threw her back out standing up too fast. Number 1 new download of the day, Xiao Cho, 48,000 downloads. A song by a nobody, released at 4 in the afternoon, with 0 promotion, had just out-earned every corporate rookie in the country in 8 hours. Meanwhile, inside Huangchao Entertainment, the songwriting department was having a collective religious experience. 100,000 downloads in under a day, no label, no budget, no name, and then somebody checked who the singer was, and the whole floor made a sound like a punctured balloon. The genius they were all worshipping was the guy their own company had kept in a drawer for 2 years and released yesterday morning. Their head songwriter reportedly laughed until he cried. Huang Chao had spent 2 years sitting on a gold mine complaining about the weight. By dawn, my phone was a slot machine that only paid out in awkwardness. Entertainment companies calling non-stop, one after another. "Mr. Shun, we sincerely invite." Hang up. Ring. "Mr. Shun, Xingyao Entertainment would love." Hang up. Ring. Meanwhile, the news sites had found the story, and oh, they feasted. Sidelined for 2 years, released a masterpiece the day after his contract ended. One article traced the whole timeline and basically wrote my revenge arc for me, and the internet did the math instantly. My comment sections filled with people tagging Huangchao Entertainment directly. "Hey, your artist is trending. Oh wait, sorry, not yours anymore." thousands of likes. I read those with my morning tea like a retired emperor reading war reports. Huang Chao's response was exactly as graceful as you'd expect. The deputy director of their songwriting department locked his entire team in a room and screamed at them to write something better than Xiao Cho in 3 days or lose their bonuses. Their own staff thought he'd lost his mind. You want us to outright a song that took someone's whole life to bleed out by Thursday? They also quietly bought trending topics to bury me. It worked the way throwing a towel on a house fire works. My hashtag climbed into the top 10, while their purchase topics sank like paid, embarrassed stones. And me? I answered exactly one call that morning, a calm, professional woman's voice. This is Han Yue, head manager at Blue Star Entertainment. We'd like to sign you. Blue Star, top 3 company in the country, a tier above Huang Chao, the kind of place with actors in international films and doors most people scratch at for a decade. I said, sure, let's meet. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., Mei Li Restaurant, private room. She agreed so fast I could hear her fist pump through the phone. What I did not mention to her was that I'd already booked the exact same time and the exact same room for the heads of Tianhai Entertainment and Wangxing Entertainment, the other 2 giants blowing up my phone. 3 of the top 10 companies in the country. 1 table. 1 me. What? Interviewing them one at a time would waste everybody's day. Before I get to the auction, I have to show you what was happening inside Huang Chao that week, because I later got the whole play-by-play from people who were in the room, and it's the closest thing to poetry that company ever produced. Picture their songwriting department. 40 professionals around a conference table long enough to land planes on, and the deputy director slamming a folder down hard enough to jump the water glasses. The directive from upstairs: produce a song that beats Xiao Cho in 3 days, or the entire department loses its bonuses. 3 days. To beat a song the original author had, distilled out of 2 years of being buried alive. One brave soul at the far end muttered exactly that. He spent 2 years living that song. You want us to counter it by Thursday? The department head turned on him slowly. In your 30-plus years of life, have you ever written anything that good? Silence. The bravest man in the building, executed by his own side. And here's my favorite part. That department head, a genuinely talented guy named Shu Kai, the man who'd built half of Huang Chao's hits, went back to his desk, put in his earbuds, and secretly listened to Xiao Cho on repeat, on his own 3 yuan. While coordinating the troll campaign against it, he told a colleague, quote, "We each serve our own masters. I still need this job. But between us, the company shelved a monster." Shu Kai, wherever you are. I never blamed the archers, just the man who pointed. The department produced nothing, obviously. Every submission bounced. Bonuses evaporated. Morale hit the floor and kept drilling. And then, on day 3, salvation arrived from an unexpected direction. Word came down that Wei Chung, the company's crown jewel, the top idol himself, was generously donating a brand new song from his personal stash to any rookie the company chose to defend Huang Chao's honor during newcomer month. The whole department nearly wept with relief. Their careers had just been saved by the boss's favorite. What a guy. What a team player. Shu Kai was the only one who didn't smile, because Shu Kai knew 2 things the room didn't. 1. Wei Chung had never been generous with a parking space, let alone a premium song that cost a fortune to commission. And 2, the timing. My contract ends, my song explodes, and within days the top star just happens to hand the company a missile labeled for immediate use against the chart leader. Shu Kai looked at that gift horse and counted its teeth twice. He was right to. You already know what that song was. About to Meet, the single Wei Chung sacrificed like a chess piece purely to shove me off the chart. What Shu Kai couldn't have known was why the top idol was willing to burn millions to bury a rookie the company had already buried once. That answer was sitting in a drawer 2 years deep: the recording, the frame job, the stolen resources. Wei Chung wasn't defending the company's honor, he was defending the crime scene. Meanwhile, the deputy director, the bonus-confiscating folder slammer, got to march upstairs and take credit for mobilizing top resources against the Lin Xuan problem. The Lin Xuan problem. I was a line item now. There are worse things to be. A line item with a system, for instance, compounding daily. Oh, and one more dispatch from inside the building that week, my absolute favorite. When my download numbers first crossed 100,000, someone in their marketing department pulled my old artist file to figure out where this monster came from, and found their own company's termination paperwork, processed 72 hours earlier, with the internal note, "No commercial value, release without conditions." No commercial value. They'd stamped it, signed it, filed it. I genuinely hope that document is framed in a break room somewhere as a warning to future executives, because I could not have written a better joke myself, and writing jokes is literally one of my two jobs. The next morning, I got to the restaurant early, ordered a table full of food nobody would touch, and waited for the collision. Han Ye from Blue Star arrived first, all smiles, launching straight into her pitch, and I politely asked her to wait. Some guests hadn't arrived. She assumed I'd brought a lawyer or an uncle. Then the door opened, and the heads of Wang Xing and Tian Hai walked in together, saw her, and all three of them froze in the doorway wearing the exact same expression, which I can only describe as man who bit into an apple and found half a worm. The waiters serving dishes fled the room like it was about to be a crime scene. "Terribly sorry," I said, standing up. "I figured this would save everyone's time." The Tian Hai boss, Chen Wei, went off first. "Where do you get the nerve? One hit song and you're auctioning yourself off like a national texture?" The Wang Xing boss, Hao Jing, just exhaled through his nose like a kettlebell had personally disappointed him. 3 sharks, 1 table, and the chum was smiling at them. "A newborn calf fears no tiger," I said. "Everyone here runs a giant company. Your time is precious. So, offers? And here's the thing about sharks. Put 3 of them in a room and they can't help competing." Hao Jing cracked first. Wang Xing offered an S-rank contract, 300,000 a year base, 40% of song revenue. He announced it like he was handing me a kidney. Chen Wei immediately laughed at him. "That's a top 10 company's offer?" Embarrassing. Tian Hai, 500,000 base, 55% if I write my own material. He looked around the table like a peacock. Then everyone turned to Han Yue, who had come prepared for war. 500,000 base, 60% on self-written songs, 2-year initial term. Short contract, big split. She'd clearly bled her own company dry getting approval for that before walking in. Hao Jing stood up, congratulated everyone on outspending him, and left with the dignity of a man who knows when the poker table is too rich. Chen Wei tried one last squeeze, muttered that if I insisted on only ever singing my own songs, maybe 50% was safer for the company, left a business card in case you get realistic, and walked out too. That left Han Yue watching me with narrowed eyes, visibly re-evaluating whether signing me was a jackpot or a hostage situation. "Let's make it interesting," I told her. "A bet. If my next 5 songs each break 1 million downloads, my split goes to 70. If 10 songs do it, 75, maybe 80. She actually swallowed. In this world, remember, 1 million downloads means 1 million real humans paying real money, no bots, no repeat buys. 5 consecutive million sellers is god of the industry territory. From a rookie with 1 song, this was either the most arrogant sentence ever spoken in that restaurant, or a weather forecast. And if you can't isn't on the menu. Let's just wait and see. She stared at me for a long second, and I watched the manager brain behind her eyes do the math. If he's delusional, we've lost nothing. If he's right, we've signed a money printer. "Deal," she said. "I believe you." We signed the next morning over coffee. She told me to call her sister Ye, since she was 10 years older, 32, looked 25, ran her department like a battleship. Then she said something I filed away carefully. "Wang Chao won't dare touch you under Blue Star's roof. You just sing. Leave the knives to me." Sister Ye, you have no idea how many knives we're going to need. But I appreciated it. The signing bonus hit my account, 100,000 yuan, and I did the single most transmigrator thing possible. I moved out of my moldy, illegal conversion shoebox that same day and rented an actual apartment with actual windows. Then I checked the backstage. 300,000 downloads, day 1. At 2.1 yuan per download for me, my week-old career was already out-earning some CEOs, which is exactly when Huang Chao played its first real card. A new song dropped from their camp, About to Meet, sung by a rookie named Luo Han. Ordinary song, ordinary kid. But it came with a nuclear engine attached. Wei Cheng, top idol in the country, tens of millions of fans, personally promoted it to his entire following. Quick industry note. During Newcomer Month, big stars boosting their company's rookies is the one unwritten rule everyone respects, because it turns a fair fight into a monster truck rally. Huang Chao broke it without blinking. Wei Cheng's fan army descended, and at midnight, the daily chart read, about to meet 200,000. Xiao Chou, 180,000. Second place. Their bot trolls went to work within the hour. Xiao Chou is overrated garbage. Huang Chao was right to dump him. I want my 3 yuan back. My freshly minted fans lit torches. Ye Qing, my ex-reviewer apostle, now a one-woman propaganda ministry, typed until her keyboard smoked and the whole internet pulled up chairs. Now let me tell you what was actually happening, because I learned all of it later and it's delicious. 2 years ago, Wei Cheng finished second to me on that talent show. When the company shortlisted people to cut, his name was on the list. So he did the math, recorded his best friend complaining about a crooked executive, sold him out, inherited every resource that friend was about to receive, and wrote it to the top of the industry. The moment I resurfaced with a hit, he didn't feel guilt, he felt terror. Because if I climbed high enough, someday the truth would too. That song, About to Meet? It was Wei Cheng's own upcoming single. He gave it away to a nobody purely as a missile aimed at me. That night, he sat alone in his villa playing Xiao Chou on repeat, my song, over and over, until something in him snapped and he smashed his phone on the floor. The cracked screen kept playing. Tinny, warped, ghostly. A toast to the sunrise, a toast to the moonlight. Lin Xuan, he told the broken phone, I will never let you climb back up. Buddy, you have no idea what's climbing. The night About to Meet briefly outcharted me. Huang Chao's bought and paid-for troll brigade clocked in for the gloating shift, and the internet got to witness a proper fandom war, my first, and I say this with real affection for everyone involved. What a show. The hashtags went up like cheap fireworks. Xiao Chou was always overrated. Huang Chao releases another masterpiece. No wonder they didn't need Lin Xuan. I want my 3 yuan back. One genius wrote that I'd tried to slap Huang Chao's face and gotten slapped instead, which, points for imagery. My brand new fans, 3 weeks old, still wet behind the ears, wobbled under the artillery. And then my first apostle went to war. Ye Qing, remember her? The reviewer who quit her job over my song? She was now a verified music blogger with a 6-digit following and, crucially, a professional's ear. She listened to About to Meet exactly twice, cracked her knuckles, and posted, I/A/B tested both songs. Xiao Chou is the real thing. About to Meet is a competent product with a marketing budget. And by the way, its hook is recycled from an older track, same skeleton, new paint. Fight me. They fought her. Oh, they fought her. Wei Cheng's fan army descended on her comments in waves, and this woman, who had recently discovered she had nothing left to lose and a keyboard that worked, went 12 rounds with the entire internet. Someone called her a clout chaser. She posted waveform comparisons. Someone said, could you write it better? She replied, no, but I can hear better, which is why I did this job and you're doing whatever this is. She was online until 3 a.m. She went to work, her new vocal classes, with raccoon eyes and, by her own account, the glow of a woman who had defended something worth defending. I found her thread the next morning over breakfast and read the whole thing like a serialized novel. My favorite exchange, preserved forever in screenshots. A troll wrote, the market has spoken, About to Meet is #1. And a random passerby, not even a fan, just a bystander with a flair for prophecy, replied, the market said one sentence. Give it a week and hear the paragraph. The paragraph arrived in 4 days. When my song reclaimed the chart by a factor of 10 and their firework fizzled, the same hashtags that had buried me quietly evaporated. Bot trends expire, turns out, exactly when the invoice does, and the trolls dispersed to whatever pond trolls winter in. A few of the louder accounts deleted everything and rebranded as food bloggers. I'm not saying I checked. I'm saying somebody sent me screenshots and I saved them in a folder named Hydration. But here's the beat from that skirmish I actually kept, the one that mattered. Buried in Ye Qing's war thread, some exhausted stranger had commented, I don't care who wins this. I just want to say I've listened to Xiao Chou every night this week after my shift, and it's the only thing that makes the bus ride feel human. 11 likes. No reply worth screenshotting. And I sat there over my kanji, a man with a system and a master plan and a volcano schedule, and thought, right, that's the job. The charts are how you keep score. That comment is what the game is for. Then I finished breakfast and went back to conquering because sentiment is a seasoning, not a meal. The other thing that battle produced, my fans came out of it organized. They'd been a crowd. They left as an army, with veterans, in-jokes, and a founding myth. They started calling themselves fans of The Comeback, not of me, of The Comeback. The idea of the buried thing that gets up. And honestly, that's the most accurate fandom name in history, because the comeback was nowhere near done. They'd signed up for a song, they were about to get a siege. Blue Star's counterattack took 1 day and 1 Weibo post. Fan Kai, their in-house king of singers, millions of followers, the kind of guy whose grocery lists chart, posted, "I really like the song Xiao Cho, the lyrics touch the heart, recommending it to all my fans." That's it. That's the whole nuke. His fan base stampeded over, listened once, and converted on the spot. Blue Star followed up with the official announcement that I'd signed with them, and suddenly both of us were trending. Except my trend was Hidden Genius joins Giant, and Huang Chao's was Company that threw away Hidden Genius panics. The chart the next midnight told the whole story. Xiao Cho, 200,000 for the day. About to Meet, 20,000, 10 to 1. Their song had been a firework, all launch, no fuel. Wei Cheng's fans had bought their copies on day 1 out of loyalty, and loyalty doesn't buy twice. My song was an avalanche that had just found its slope. 2 days later, Xiao Cho crossed 1 million total downloads. In the final week of Newcomer Month, something that had never been done in the history of the event. The old number 1, that 600,000 juggernaut built over 3 weeks, a speed bump. I lapped it on my way past. Newcomer Month ended, my leash came off, and so did Blue Stars. They plastered Xiao Cho posters across actual streets, pushed it on every app homepage, branded me the genius singer-songwriter, and the numbers went vertical. 5 million downloads in a week. The guild rates songs like weapons here. 500,000 is gold. 1 million is platinum. 10 million inside 3 months is diamond. They burn the song onto an actual golden disc and enshrine it forever. And the number of living singers with one is a short, smug list. Blue Star had been hoping I'd maybe scrape diamond by deadline. At my current pace, I was going to kick the door in early. Sister Yue got a bonus and got paraded at company meetings as the genius who signed the genius. Her cousin, Qin Si, also a manager there, also a certified handsome man enthusiast, burst into her office demanding an introduction to me, and Sister Yue physically shoved her back out the door like a bouncer. "You're not scaring off my artist in week 2. I heard about this later and made a note. In this company, my face was apparently a workplace hazard. Meanwhile, in the Huang Chao building, the mood was more funereal. About to Meet was doing 50,000 a day with heavy promotion and falling. Wei Cheng blamed the rookie singer, obviously. That's his signature move. Hand you a grenade, then blame you for the shrapnel. And when he saw my numbers screaming toward Diamond, he called his manager with a new order. Watch Lin Xuan. The moment he releases a new song, tell me. I'll release one the same day and bury him. Sil, take a number. Everyone's trying to bury me. I keep coming back with real estate. Around then, I also had my first brush with the other kind of fame. I was sitting in a cafe when a very pretty girl in a pink dress, egged on by 2 friends, marched up and asked for my number, closing her eyes like she was jumping off a diving board. "No," I said, smiling. "Huh? Why?" "No." She stomped off in flames and I went back to my coffee. Look, she was gorgeous, but I had an industry to conquer and a traitor to lower into a volcano. Romance wasn't on this quarter's roadmap. The universe took notes on that sentence, by the way. It would be laughing at me within months. The reason I was in that cafe was Sister Yu, who arrived with a laptop and a job offer that made my eyebrows leave my face. A famous film director, Lei Shan, a genuine heavyweight, was paying $8 million for a theme song for his new youth movie. His requirement? Read the script, capture its soul. The catch? He'd already rejected over 100 submissions, including everything Blue Star's entire songwriting department could produce. Gold-tier composers bounced. The man was on his 3rd crisis meeting, threatening to release the film with no theme song at all, which for a director is like threatening to serve a wedding cake with no wedding. "You can try," Sister Yue said carefully. "No pressure. Nobody expects. Send me the script." I read it in the cafe. Youth, first love, friendship, the ache of almost. A very specific melody from my past life stood up in my head and raised its hand. Oh, this wasn't even a challenge. This was typecasting. "I can write it," I said. "How long do you need?" 3 days later, I handed her a finished song called Those Fleeting Years, and I watched my extremely professional, decade-hardened manager read the lyrics and slowly stop being a manager. Her eyes went somewhere else, some boy on a basketball court, some diary with a name written in the margins. When she surfaced, she asked, quietly, "If we can't meet again with tears in our eyes, can we at least blush?" Then she cleared her throat, remembered she had a job, and declared we were booking a studio immediately because whether or not the director wanted this song, the world was getting it. The studio session became company legend. Blue Star's chief sound engineer was a 45-year-old veteran named Shu Lei, a million-a-year mixing wizard who'd heard everything twice. I went into the booth, the piano intro rolled, the cello came in, and I sang "Those Fleeting Years," start to finish with my eyes closed. When I opened them, all four people behind the glass were crying, grown professionals. The two assistant girls, wet-eyed, Sister Yue, gone, and Shu Lei, the veteran, staring into the middle distance at some girl from his high school he hadn't spoken to in decades, thinking, he admitted this later, maybe I should try to find her number. Then his assistant tapped the console. "Teacher Shu, you forgot to press record." A million-a-year engineer forgot to press record. He'd been so busy time-traveling through his own regrets that the take existed nowhere but our memories. He apologized about 9 times. I just went back in and sang it again. Second take, 1 pass, done. Shu Lei told Sister Yue he hadn't touched my vocal at all. No tuning, no correction, nothing to fix. Then he asked the question everyone eventually asks. "This is going to director Lei Shan? If I were him, I'd take this over everything his own gold-tier people sent. It's not close." Meanwhile, at Green Pine Films, director Lei Shan was mid-meltdown in his 3rd theme song crisis meeting, telling his whole creative team that if all they wanted was to make do, he'd release the movie with silence over the credits. At that exact moment, his assistant director's laptop pinged. New submission from Blue Star, "Those Fleeting Years." They played it in the meeting room, projector, full speakers, everyone braced for rejection number 100-something. By the second chorus, the director's eyes were red. By the end, the room was silent, and then it exploded. "This is it. This is the one. Who wrote this? Did they actually read the script?" And then Lei Shan said the sentence that made industry news. "We're renaming the movie." His film was called Dreamy Youth. He renamed it Those Fleeting Years, after my song. A director famous for never bending renamed his own movie, a title that had survived multiple naming meetings, because the song said what his film had been trying to say better than the film did. His assistant director muttered that, honestly, Dreamy Youth always did sound like a middle schooler's essay title, got a death glare, and moved on. When Sister Yue called me with the news, my first thought, verbatim, do I get a naming fee for that? My second thought was that the release was in 2 weeks and everything just got very real. The company decided I should also make friends internal, so I got walked into the songwriting department, the same department whose 100+ submissions had all been rejected by Lei Shan. Their chief, a fast-talking mountain of enthusiasm named Tian Feng, announced to the room that the impossible contract had been landed, then presented me like a game show prize. The room's reaction went through 5 distinct stages. Who is he? Wait, the Lin Xuan? The singer stole our job. He's how young? He's how handsome? One composer admitted she'd assumed I was a weathered, middle-aged man, based on my lyrics. Ma'am, the weathering is internal. Tian Feng tried to recruit me into the department on the spot, right in front of my own manager, who nearly climbed over a desk. I declined. Writing songs for other people to sing is like cooking a feast and mailing it away. But we cut a deal. Any songs I write and don't want to sing, his department gets first crack at, gold-tier rates. He shook my hand like he was pumping water from a well. On the way out, he was overheard telling someone that with his silver tongue, I'd surely join the department eventually. Sure, buddy, right after the volcano thing. And on the way out of that building, I bumped into a conversation that changed everything, though nobody in the hallway knew it yet. Sister Yue ran into a tired-looking man named Gao Ming, editor-in-chief of Blue Star Novel Network, the company's website for online fiction. The man looked like a haunted house with glasses. His site had bet everything on a famous martial arts author's new book. It had just flopped. Their bid to crack the national top 10 novel sites was collapsing, and the board of directors was openly discussing dissolving the whole website. Dozens of jobs, one flop away from gone. He trudged off before anyone could even offer sympathy. I stood there in the hallway, and a whole new continent lit up in my head. Because here's what I knew that this world didn't. Their fiction scene was still stuck in the ancient loop. Martial arts hero falls off cliff, finds secret manual, revenge. Readers were starving and didn't know it. And in my head, from my past life, sat the entire golden library of web fiction. The books that invented genres, the books that made billions. That night, I opened the system shop and typed one word into the search bar. Novel. The catalog scrolled past, 50 million popularity points for the top shelf classics, way outside my budget of 8 million. But there was a newcomer discount section, one-time use, and near the bottom of it, glowing like a cheat code. Battle Through the Heavens, 8 million points. The book that launched 1,000 fantasy tropes in my old world. In this world, a meteor aimed at a planet with no telescope. I hit redeem. My popularity balance emptied. A program called System Mail appeared on my computer out of nowhere. My system delivers by email, apparently. Very white collar of it. And the full manuscript landed in my inbox. I cleaned up the first 20,000 words and submitted them to exactly one place. Blue Star Novel Network, the drowning website down the hall. Under a fresh pen name, so nobody could connect it to the singer. Cang Yun. Gao Ming, the haunted editor-in-chief, found my manuscript at the bottom of a slush pile at some ungodly hour, running on cigarettes and coffee resistance. Battle Through the Heavens. Decent title. He started reading out of due diligence. Genius protagonist loses his talent. Okay, seen it. Wait, Battle Chi? What system is this? A whole other continent? A transmigrator? He sat up. In this world's fiction, nobody wrote other worlds. It was all cliff-diving swordsmen and time travel to the Tang dynasty. And then he hit the engagement scene, the fiancé's family annulling the match, the fallen genius standing there in front of everyone, and the line. 3 years from now, the ridiculed becomes the legend. Never underestimate a young man's potential. Gao Ming slammed his fist on the desk and stood up alone in a dark office. Then he hit the end of Chapter 7, discovered there was no Chapter 8 yet, and said a word I won't repeat. He blasted the manuscript to his entire editorial group chat at dawn. 15 minutes later, the chat was a riot. Sign it now, before another site does. They signed me, well, signed Cang Yun, that afternoon. 50-50 royalty split. Gao Ming begged the mysterious new author to please update daily. I said sure. He had no idea the entire book already existed, and I was basically a man leaking a finished dam, one bucket at a time. Day 1, 80 clicks, 60 of them bookmarked. That ratio made the editor's eyes twitch. 3 out of 4 readers who touched the book couldn't put it down. Day 3, Gao Ming broke his own site's rules and threw the book onto the front page banner, a slot reserved for proven 200,000-word veterans. I'll take responsibility, he said. 4 hours later, the clicks had gone from 1,000 to 9,000, and the bookmarks had octupled, and responsibility was no longer a concern. Then the book found its whale. A rich kid named Su Tao, Family Money, ran his own media company, famous in reader circles for tipping like a drunken emperor, got hooked, hit the end of the posted chapters, and short-circuited. He described it later as being interrupted mid-sneeze, spiritually. His solution to the agony of waiting was to recharge 10,000 yuan and dump it on the book as a tip, with a comment that was essentially a hostage note. Keep updating or I keep paying. Sir, that's not a threat. That's a subscription. But his actual masterstroke was pettier. Su Tao decided that if he had to suffer waiting for updates, the whole country should suffer with him. He owned a fleet of marketing accounts with millions of followers. He wrote a glowing recommendation and fired it out of every single one, purely to breed fellow addicts. It worked. Oh, it worked. That midnight, Gao Ming got a panicked call from his own tech department. Sir, something's wrong with the site. One book is gaining 500,000 clicks in hours. It has to be fraud. Someone's botting us. Gao Ming drove to the office at 1 a.m. in genuine terror. Click fraud could get the book banned and the site buried. The tech team ran every trace, real IPs, spread across the entire country. Every single click was a live human being. The book had gone from 1,000 clicks to 730,000 in one day. The bookmark ratio was almost 1-to-1. Unheard of, statistically deranged, and the tips counter had passed 150,000 yuan. Gao Ming's team found him the next morning, asleep at his desk, smiling. They genuinely debated checking his pulse. Their boss had not smiled in a fiscal quarter. When he woke up and announced the numbers, the editorial department made a noise that got the neighboring company asking about calling an ambulance. Their dying website had just birthed the biggest book in the country. And I got a very polite string of missed calls from Gao Ming begging Cang Yun to never, ever stop updating. I was updating 10 chapters a day at this point, which, by this world's standards, made me a machine. The comments split evenly between worship and threats. Cang Yun writes so well. Cang Yun, I've read it 20 times. Cang Yun, if you slow down, I will find you. One reader, Su Tao again, leveled up to top patron of the book, then got outbid by 2 other whales, and the tipping section turned into an arms race between rich people I had never met. The lives of the wealthy truly are dull, and I was happy to be their new hobby. Somewhere in the middle of this, I was sitting in Sister Yue's office when her cousin Qin Sisi bounced in, spotted the novel open on my screen, and delivered a 5-minute unpaid commercial for Battle Through the Heavens directly to my face. She'd stayed up all night reading it. She'd tipped the author several hundred yuan to update faster. She hoped Teng Yun never, ever got lazy. I nodded along very seriously and promised her the author seemed reliable. Reader, I updated 10 chapters that afternoon, and she reportedly jumped around the office like she'd won a raffle. Being secretly two famous people is the best hobby in the world. So let's take inventory 1 month in. Xiaochou, 5 million downloads and charging at Diamond. Those fleeting years, recorded, attached to a major film, release pending. Battle Through the Heavens, #1 phenomenon in web fiction, printing money nightly. My popularity stat had gone from 5 to 8 million, and the system shop was starting to look less like a wish list and more like a menu. And Wei Cheng, top idol of the nation, was watching all of it through his cracked phone screen, sharpening the next knife. The movie came out 2 weeks later, and I did the thing every creator secretly dreams of. Bought a ticket to my own work in disguise and eavesdropped on the audience. Baseball cap, last row, popcorn. The 2 girls in front of me spent the pre-show arguing about why they'd come. Red Dress insisted it was for the theme song from the trailer. It's not on any music app yet. This is the only place to hear it. Yellow Dress accused her of coming for the lead actor's face. The movie itself was, honestly, a very standard youth story shot beautifully, but when my song hit over the emotional peak, the theater dissolved. Red Dress went through 4 tissues. On the way out, the entire lobby was one conversation. The song, is the song out yet? What app? Which app? I floated home like a helium balloon in a hoodie. The numbers followed. Song and film released simultaneously at midnight. By 10 a.m., 300,000 downloads, #1 on every chart by lunch. The movie's box office lapped everything else in theaters. People went for the song and stayed for the film, then downloaded the song on the way out, a perpetual motion machine made of feelings. Director Lei Shan posted a public thank you, explaining he'd renamed his entire movie because of my lyrics, which sent the internet into a fresh frenzy. My Weibo followers hit 8 million overnight. I posted a thank you back and casually mentioned I'd be appearing on a new show. That show was Tomorrow's Star, the biggest new singing competition in the country. Big budget, top director Zheng Tao, live band blind auditions, the works. Sister Yue pitched it as exposure. I looked at the mentor list and started laughing. Mentor 1, Fan Kai, Blue Star's king of singers, the guy whose one Weibo post had carpet-bombed the charts for me. Mentor 2, Mei Ling, a former child star diva with a decade of hits and a famous mutual allergy with Fan Kai. Mentor 3, Wei Cheng. The man who buried me for 2 years was going to sit in a swivel chair and judge my singing. The production team had hired him for star power. I signed the participation contract so fast the ink smeared. Some shows you do for exposure. Some you do because the universe hand delivers you a stage, points at your nemesis, and says, "Go nuts, Challen." Wei Cheng's reaction to the casting news, I'm told, was a cold sweat followed by frantic scheming, because from his side of the chessboard, this looked like me hunting him. Which, flattering, but no, I didn't need to hunt him. I just needed to exist loudly. Men like him drown in other people's success all by themselves. Audition day. 100 contestants, 5 days of blind auditions, mentors facing away from the stage, 10 slots per team. I drew number 33. When the staff called my name, the whole waiting room turned. There goes a spot, someone sighed. And when I walked out, the audience made a sound that told the mentors something was up before I'd sung a note. I gave them Xiaochou. Mei Ling slammed her button 2 lines in. 2 lines. Her chair spun, she saw me, and she stood up applauding at her own blind audition. Fan Kai held out until the chorus for dignity's sake, then folded. And Wei Cheng sat there with his back to me, hand hovering, trapped in the worst multiple-choice question of his life. Turn for the man you destroyed, or be the only mentor who didn't turn for the obvious best voice of the season, on camera, in front of the nation. He pressed the button at the last possible second with the enthusiasm of a man signing his own audit. 3 chairs. The host asked for my self-introduction. "Hello, everyone. I'm Lin Xuan." Silence. "That's it," I added. The audience lost it. Mei Ling offered me her team's captain badge on the spot. Fan Kai countered that they don't come more sincere than a fellow singer-songwriter. Wei Chung went third and chose violence. Your lyrics are fine, but your composition is barely passing. Join my team and I'll personally fix your songwriting. The man whose entire discography is ghostwritten offered to fix my songwriting. Fan Kai made a sound like a stifled sneeze. Somewhere in the audience, a music teacher felt a disturbance and didn't know why. Thank you, I said, with the warmth of a tax notice, and walked to Fan Kai. Captain Badge, Team Yi Chen. Wei Cheng exhaled in what he thought was relief, and then our eyes met for half a second, and he flinched hard enough that Mei Ling asked if he was feeling okay. Fine, totally fine. Sure you are, buddy. By that evening, marketing accounts were already pushing clipped videos. Mentor Wei Cheng critiques overrated rookie. Composition needs work. Bought and paid for. I watched one, chuckled, and swiped to a cat video, because feeding it attention was the only way it could hurt me. Sister Yue did not share my zen. She saw the clips, said several words unsuitable for broadcast, and had the company legal team start a folder. A folder that would, in time, become a filing cabinet, a load-bearing one. The auditions wrapped in 3 days. 30 of us made it through, 10 per mentor. And when Sister Yue pulled the contestant files to scout my competition, 2 names mattered. Chen Hao, Mei Ling's ace, the rookie whose song had been #1 before mine existed, now signed to Wang Xing and polished by hired masters, a genuinely great voice. And on Wei Cheng's team, Luo Han. The rookie who'd been handed About to Meet as a missile aimed at me during Newcomer Month. The chessboard was set. Every piece Wang Chao owned was on it. And somewhere above the board, Wei Chung was already whispering to his rookie about what needed to be done to me. Round 1. 10 cut to 5, head-to-head duels, drawn by lots. I drew a hip-hop kid named Wu Jie, who reacted to the pairing like a man drawing the Grim Reaper in Secret Santa. He volunteered to perform first, openly admitting that if he had to follow me, he might not walk out at all. Respect for the honesty. He sang and danced his heart out, his breath control wobbled, his pitch slipped, and Fan Kai's critique was gentle but terminal. Then me. I'm bringing an original song, I said. It's called The Wind Rises. New song, not Xiao Chou, not the movie song, a third original, debuted live. Piano and wind chimes, a boy leaving his hometown to chase something, wandering station to station, and coming home to find the warm wind exactly where he left it. I built it soft, then took the bridge up, and then let the high note off its leash. The note hit the back wall of the studio, and the entire audience came out of their seats like the floor was electrified. People cried. Mentors stood. Somewhere in the middle of it, Wei Chung's face did a thing cameras usually only catch at funerals, because he was hearing, live, that the man he'd spent 2 years suppressing had come back stronger than he'd ever been. He told himself it was impossible. He'd had me watched. Bars, street corners, hotel luggage carts. Where does a buried man learn to sing like this? Wrong question, buddy. Where does a buried man get a system? Also unanswerable, but at least it's the right genre of question. Afterward, the host asked if I'd really written it myself. Yes, Fan Kai's critique started with, "Your performance exceeded my expectations," and I asked, deadpan, "What exactly were your expectations?" and watched a King of Singers briefly blue screen on national television before cracking up. That clip went viral before the episode even aired. My brand was solidifying. Sings like an angel, talks like a printer manual. The episode aired that weekend, and the ratings people nearly fell out of their chairs. Highest viewership in the time slot, with a measurable spike during exactly my 7 minutes. Director Zheng Tao, a man who could read a ratings graph like sheet music, noticed the spike. Noticed I wasn't scheduled to perform in the next episode, and got creative. He called Sister Yue. Would Lin Xuan shoot the sponsors' commercials? 5 ads, 1,000,000 yuan, screen time in every episode. I took exactly 2, the Plum snack brand and a state-owned cold medicine, because a rookie who grabs everything cheapens fast, and I was building a top-shelf brand. Zheng Tao heard the reasoning and reportedly liked me more for saying no. Then came the ad shoot, where I found the sponsor's creative team in a hostage situation. The client had rejected every storyboard for being boring, the director was melting down, and the shoot was about to collapse. I raised a hand. Can I pitch something? You have to understand what I pitched. In my old world, there was a commercial so catchy, so profoundly stupid, that an entire generation could recite it under anesthesia. I recreated it shot for shot, Me, in a white suit, popping into frame from increasingly absurd angles, asking the camera with deep, sincere concern, "Are you all right?" Again, "Are you all right?" And then, producing a bag of liu liu mei plums, beaming, "If you're all right, eat some liu liu mei." The crew went dead silent when I finished describing it. Then one guy started giggling. Then the room fell over. And then somebody whispered, "I kind of want to buy a bag right now." And Zheng Tao said the 4 words every unhinged genius wants to hear. "Let's shoot it. Today." We'll come back to that grenade when it detonates on air, trust me. Back at the competition, the format got spicy. Each mentor could promote one contestant directly to the next round, skipping the duels. And here my team did something that genuinely got me. All 9 of my teammates went to Fan Kai as a delegation and requested, begged, that the free pass go to me. Not out of love, out of self-preservation. Their argument delivered with the deadly seriousness of men negotiating a ceasefire. If we get drawn against Lin Xuan, the audience won't even remember we performed. At least give the rest of us screen time. Fan Kai asked if they were really that scared of me. 9 heads nodded in perfect sync. So I got promoted to the top 5 without singing a note, and got a special guest's chair at the side of the stage, which is the competition equivalent of a throne with a plaque reading "Problem." The other 2 teams promoted their aces the normal, suspicious way. Mei Ling promoted Chen Hao, fair enough, he was her strongest, and Wei Cheng promoted Luo Han, the about-to-meet kid, a rookie objectively weaker than 2 other people on that team. In the waiting room, I wandered past Luo Han, looked him over, and said, lightly, "Ah, the promotion slot. Everyone knows how those are really decided." I knew nothing. I was fishing. But Luo Han's face went white, then red, and his voice cracked up an octave. "It was earned! Earned!" which is the sound a guilty conscience makes when you poke it. The whole room heard it. Whispers started. I went back to my phone. Sometimes the fishing rod catches dinner on an empty hook. Around then, my teammate Wang Tao, a loud, loyal golden retriever of a man with a gravelly voice and 0 filter, was panicking over his duel song. I heard him rehearse it. Decent voice, but the lyrics had a pretentious quota poem moment that landed like a tuba in a library. I borrowed his lyric sheet and a pencil, crossed out 2 lines, wrote 2 new ones, and handed it back. He read it. His face did the thing. And then this absolute maniac dropped to one knee and performed a full martial arts world salute in the middle of the waiting room, bellowing, "Yiga! From today, you are my brother." And that is the story of how I acquired both a best friend and a nickname I couldn't return. Dormitory life at the show, meanwhile, had developed its own folklore, and I was the folklore. It started when word got around that I'd landed the sponsor ads, the only contestant in the whole production to get one. That evening, Wang Tao woke me from a nap by shaking me like a piggy bank, demanded to know why I hadn't told him, and then, when I shrugged that it wasn't a big deal, performed a full ceremonial bow at my bedside. "Xuan Ge, Xuan God, let me absorb some of your luck." I told him luck isn't contagious. He disagreed on scientific grounds. The next morning, I caught him attempting to steal my worn socks. I need to be precise about the logic here, because he explained it to me with total sincerity. My luck was strongest. Therefore, items in prolonged contact with me carried residual fortune, and, his words, the stronger the smell, the stronger the luck. I told him to get out. He retreated, regrouped, and successfully stole a black pen off my desk instead, which he then carried around like a holy relic. It spread, Sun Jia, national class ballet training, wealthy family, dignity of a swan, cornered me the next day, bowed politely, and asked, with a completely straight face, for my notebook. "I want to share in your fortune, senior." I refused. She looked devastated. Wang Tao, moved by her plight, took her aside and magnanimously gifted her the cap of my stolen pen, keeping the pen body for himself, like a warlord splitting territory. She thanked him. She thanked him. She carried a pen cap to her performances. These were the future stars of the national music industry, engaged in the structured worship of my stationery. "You know," I told them both over dinner, "you could just believe in science, practice, technique, cause and effect." "Says the man," Wang Tao replied through a mouthful of rice, "who has literally never lost anything." Okay, fair. If I were watching me from the outside, I'd steal my pen too. I let them keep the relics. Morale is morale. The superstition reached its final form around Sun Jia's crush, which by then was the worst kept secret in the building. During a break, Wang Tao, investigating on his own behalf, asked her what her ideal type was. She gazed into the distance and recited. 182, eyes with stars in them, dresses clean and simple, calm in any crisis, and, most importantly, a singer-songwriter. She said all of it while looking at me out of the corner of her eye with the subtlety of a lighthouse. Wang Tao, 1.75 of pure hope, lit up like a vending machine. Wait, that's basically me. The silence that followed had texture. Sun Jia gave him the polite, pained smile you give a dog that's brought you a dead bird as a gift. I developed an urgent interest in my water bottle. Somewhere, a camera operator was silently thanking every god in rotation because all of it was being filmed. And that clip, "That's basically me," became one of the season's most replayed moments, complete with a zoom on Sun Jia's face and a sound effect of crows. For the record, I never encouraged the crush, and it landed gently in the friendship it was always going to be. She'd tell interviewers years later she'd joined the show half because she'd heard I'd be on it, stayed for the music, and left with 2 brothers and a career. That's the version of the story everyone gets to keep. The pen, however, I never got back. Last I heard, Wang Tao still has it. He says it's working. His career says he might be right, and I've stopped arguing with results. Wang Tao sang my 2 repaired lines in his duel and advanced. When Fan Kai asked on camera where the sudden lyrical soul came from, Wang Tao, a man congenitally incapable of taking credit, pointed straight at me in the guest's chair. Lin Shren rewrote it backstage. The audience gasped. Helping a direct competitor mid-tournament is not standard practice. Fan Kai asked how I'd approach the rewrite. I just casually swapped 2 lines, I said. Honestly, easier than coaching a primary schooler's essay. Fan Kai opened his mouth, closed it, and visibly decided not to hand me the microphone ever again. Second blue screen. The editors were building a highlight reel of me breaking this poor man. Meanwhile, my other life needed attention. Gao Ming, editor-in-chief of the novel site, requested a face-to-face with the mysterious Chang Yun. The site was going all in on cross-channel promotion. I showed up to the restaurant in a cap, sunglasses, and a mask, looking less like an author and more like a man about to rob the author. When I took it all off, Gao Ming's brain performed a full reboot. He pointed, he stammered, he sang a line of Xiao Chou at me, incorrectly. The hottest new singer in the country and the hottest new novelist in the country were the same 22-year-old, and he was the only person alive who knew. He immediately wanted to announce it. Free nuclear marketing. I shot it down. Not yet. I'm mid-competition. If the audience votes for me, I want it to be for the songs, not because book fans stuffed the ballot. Gao Ming looked at me like I'd declined a winning lottery ticket on sportsmanship grounds, then solemnly swore secrecy. He kept that secret about as well as you'd expect, which is to say, completely, while dying inside daily, dropping mysterious smiles around his office until his editors formed conspiracy theories about Chang Yun being a beautiful, reclusive woman. I chose not to correct the record, let the legend breathe. Back on set, episode 2 aired. The Wind Rises hit the public, and the internet did its thing. #1 daily download by morning. And here's the fun part. My 2 older songs got dragged back up the chart with it, and suddenly, the top 3 downloads in the entire country were all me, each song's comment section cross-recommending the other 2 like a pyramid scheme of feelings. The show's ratings hit #2 in the slot. Zheng Tao started openly planning the season around my screen time, which made episode 3 awkward, because I wasn't performing in it. Promoted contestants sat that round out. Ratings opened at 3.1, and the moment viewers realized I wasn't singing that night, 2/3 of the audience left. Just left, live graph diving like a hawk. Zheng Tao, watching the numbers, aged visibly. And then the ad break happened. Are you all right? Cut. Are you all right? Cut. Are you all right? A nation of viewers, mid-channel surf, froze as the aloof genius singer they knew from dramatic ballads popped out from behind a giant plum, asking after their well-being with the intensity of a paramedic. If you're all right, eat some liu liu mei. The ratings graph spiked to 3.7 during the commercial. The show itself was pulling 1.5. My 30-second plum ad was outperforming the actual program by double. Zheng Tao reportedly stared at the graph, muttering, "Comparison is the thief of joy," while the contestants who'd sung their hearts out that episode learned they'd been outrated by a snack advertisement. The internet handled it with its usual restraint, by which I mean total collapse. Parody videos everywhere, reaction clips. My own fan base in open civil war between My Elegant Artist and The Plum Guy. One fan famously fell off her yoga mat mid-pose when the ad came on and posted the bruise. My teammate Wang Tao watched the ad 11 times, walked over to Chen Hao's dorm with a box of the plums, knocked, and greeted him with, "Are you all right?" And Chen Hao, deadpan, replied, "Are you all right?" And they stood there feeding each other the catchphrase like two malfunctioning robots. The sponsor's sales went vertical. They asked me to be brand ambassador. Other brands started calling, several requesting that I please also design their commercials, which is how I learned that in this world, one sufficiently stupid idea makes you an advertising genius. Sister Yue fielded 100 questions from colleagues that week. Is he doing a rebrand? Is it a split personality? Where can I buy the plums? And answered them with saintly patience. No, any supermarket. Meanwhile, my popularity stat was inflating like a parade balloon, and I spent a chunk of it in the system on upgrades I'd been eyeing, because the competition was about to stop being a formality. The next round was 5-3, team versus team, group performances judged by a 300-person public jury, and Wei Cheng's team suddenly had a new song, a suspiciously professional, radio slick number that appeared overnight, mid-competition, in violation of at least the spirit of every rule. I learned the backstory later. Wei Cheng had paid over 2 million yuan out of his own pocket for a track from a top commercial songwriting team and handed it to Luo Han like a loaded gun. His pep talk, roughly, crush Lin Xuan and the company will love you, fail and you're nothing. He also floated a plan B that deserves quoting because it tells you everything about the man. Why don't we just make sure Lin Xuan can never sing again, Luo Han suggested. And Wei Cheng, not horrified, mind you, just tactical, replied it wasn't the right timing. Save the career-ending sabotage for after the cameras leave, rookie. There are optics to think about. These were the people across the board from me. Keep that in mind for everything that comes next, and enjoy it the way I did. The Plum ads cultural rampage deserves one more minute because I've never seen 30 seconds of footage colonize a country faster. The single greatest casualty report came from Ye Qing herself, who posted it publicly. She'd been mid-yoga during episode 3, holding some advanced pretzel pose in front of the TV, waiting through the ads for the show. Then my face appeared at extreme close-up asking, "Are you all right?" And she, quote, lost all structural integrity and folded onto the mat like a deck chair. She posted the bruise. The bruise got more engagement than most artists' album launches. She captioned it, "My idol did this to me," and the replies were a support group of people injured by surprise plums, dropped phones, spat tea, one man who claimed he'd been shaving. The parody wave came next, and it came for everyone. Street interviews where strangers answered, "Are you all right?" with the full slogan unprompted in chorus. Teachers reported students deploying it during exams. A traffic safety bureau in some province made an official parody. "Are you all right? Then buckle up," and tagged me. Grandmothers who could not have named one of my songs knew the Plum Boy. My fanbase formally split into two factions with treaty-level negotiations. The Ballad faction, who insisted I was a wounded artist of profound depth, and the Plum faction, who had the receipts that I designed the ad myself. Both factions were correct. That was the problem. That was always going to be the problem with me. Sales-wise, the sponsor's plums sold out in multiple cities. Actual shelf shortages, actual restock announcements. Their CEO sent Sister Yue a fruit basket so large it needed its own chair, along with a brand ambassador offer and a request I will treasure forever. 2 to 3 more ideas of similar stupidity, at your convenience. Other brands came running with open checkbooks, several specifying they didn't want my face, they wanted my brain, which is the only time in entertainment history a company has said that to an idol and meant it as a compliment. And the show? Tomorrow's star leaned all the way in. Zheng Tao recut the episode 4 cold open to start with 3 seconds of the Plum ad as a fake-out before the drama sting, and the ratings for that window beat the previous week's peak. The man had discovered a law of nature. Attach Lin Xuan to object, object becomes number 1. He spent the rest of the season testing the law's limits with the rigor of a physicist. Meanwhile, I watched my system's popularity counter tick upward in fat, satisfying increments with every parody, every bruise post, every grandmother. Because here's the thing nobody clocked at the time. Prestige and ridicule both spend the same. The diamond discs made the industry respect me. The plum made the country know me. A ballad reaches everyone who has feelings about ballads. Are You All Right? Reached everyone with a television and a pulse, 5 times a night, in their own living room, until resisting me became more effort than loving me. Highbrow builds statues, lowbrow builds roads. I was paving in every direction at once, and the tolls went straight into a shop menu only I could see. Are you all right? Genuinely, are you? Because things were about to accelerate again, and I'd hate for you to read the next part on an empty stomach. Have a plum. My team's entry for the group round was a song I'd handed Fan Kai called Ordinary Road. He read the lyrics, said, "I have no notes, it's already perfect," and pinned it to the board. My two remaining teammates, Wang Tao and a quiet ballet-trained girl named Sun Jia, reacted to singing my song like they'd been knighted. Quick word about Sun Jia, by the way. Early in training, Wang Tao had tried flirting by asking what kind of guys she liked. She answered, gazing into the middle distance. 1.82 meters tall. Eyes like they hold the stars. Calm under pressure. Ideally, a singer-songwriter. Wang Tao, who is 1.7 something of pure enthusiasm, lit up. That's basically me. Sir, the entire training room needed a moment. Then I made a call that changed our whole trajectory. 3 people standing in a row singing is a chorus. Let's be a band instead. Wang Tao nearly combusted. A band was his childhood dream, and claimed the bass on the spot. Sun Jia took keys. I took guitar. We moved into the instrument room and started building the song properly, drums and all. Our first full run-through, we didn't know the corridor outside had filled up. Mei Ling's whole team drifted over. Staff gathered. The cleaning lady parked her cart. When the last chord rang out, applause exploded through the window and scared Sun Jia half off her stool. Mei Ling herself marched in, told me, in front of my own mentor, that her team's door was always open for me, and dodged out just ahead of Fan Kai's thrown slipper. The slipper, and I want this on the record as pure cosmic justice, sailed through the doorway and hit Luo Han square in the face. He'd been lurking in the crowd, scouting us for Wei Chung. He went down, clutching his head, accused an innocent teammate of assault, got shown the man's shoes, sneakers, laces intact, Your Honor, and was mid-tantrum when Fan Kai stepped out, retrieved his slipper, and said with glacial calm, "Mine. Sorry. Word of advice, you're a public figure now. Mind how you speak." The hallway needed collective therapy from suppressed laughter. Competition day. Backstage, Luo Han came to collect the humiliation he was owed. He strutted up, arms crossed. "Hey, want to bet? Losing team's captain pours foot-washing water for the winner." 3 days. I looked up from my guitar slowly, like a dragon being handed a coupon. "Too small," I said. "Loser serves the winner's foot-washing water and washes the feet until the day the loser is eliminated from this show." You could hear the backstage collectively inhale. Luo Han's confidence was a puddle doing an impression of an ocean. He had his secret 2 million yuan song, after all, so he swallowed hard and shook on it. Wang Tao immediately piled in with a side bet of his own, because of course he did. The performances. Wei Chung's team went first with their mercenary masterpiece, glossy, catchy, focus-grouped to death. It landed well, 256 votes out of 300. Wei Chung preened like the trophy was already engraved. Mei Ling's team, led by Chen Hao's genuinely excellent voice, pulled 260. Luo Han's smirk developed a crack. Second place was not in his script. Then us. Band setup rolled out, lights down. Wang Tao's bass and husky low verse. Sun Jia's keys like clear water. And then I took the bridge. I once crossed mountains and seas and crowds, and had everything I owned slip away like smoke. And by the final chorus, the entire venue was on its feet, phone flashlights swaying, the public jury singing back at us. This was supposed to be a competition. It looked like a farewell concert for a band that had existed for 11 days. Votes, 300. Out of 300. Unanimous. First time in the show's history. The host's voice cracked, announcing it. Wang Tao grabbed my shoulder and shook me like a vending machine. And Wei Chung, with his own mic still hot, blurted, "Is this show rigged?" on camera, accusing the production of fraud, live, because my team got a perfect score. Mei Ling icily reminded him that rigging accusations carry legal weight in this country. The production team, in a stroke of genius, simply passed microphones into the jury and let 300 civilians explain themselves. One auntie's answer entered the national meme rotation. "As a mentor, don't you have ears?" Wei Chung's apology had the cadence of a hostage statement. Oh, and his last place team had to cut someone, and he cut the girl, Li Mei, instead of either of his connected boys, with a speech about how much he loved all his students that could have been generated by a scam call center. Now, the foot-washing debt. That evening, Wang Tao propped our dorm door open like a kid on Christmas Eve, and Chen Hao from the neighboring dorm crouched by his own doorway for the show. When Luo Han didn't appear, the two of them went to his room and knocked. "Technician Liang, your shift is starting." Muffled cursing. They upped the volume. "If he can't honor a bet, we'll just tell everyone." The door flew open, and out came Luo Han carrying a basin of hot water with the face of a man carrying his own coffin, escorted by his roommate Duan Li, who was not even pretending not to enjoy it. "Here's my confession. I usually shower and change into slippers the second I get back to the dorm. That night I had, for the first time ever, changed back into lace-up sneakers and thick socks and was sitting in the chair like a throne." Wang Tao noticed. "Weren't you just in slippers?" "Full service," I said. "Should feel earned." Luo Han set the basin down, looked at my double-knotted sneakers, and something in him gave way. He erupted. This was a setup, a public humiliation. I planned all of it, screaming loud enough to pull spectators from 3 floors. Which, to be clear, he invented the bet, raised the stakes were his idea originally, and lost fair and square in front of 300 jurors. But sure, my sneakers were the real villain. And that scream was the pebble that started his avalanche. Now, I skipped over the single greatest television moment of that team round, and I refuse to let it stay skipped because it deserves a plaque. After our 300 sweep during the mentor comments, Wei Cheng reached for one last way to stand over me on camera. He put on his most generous face and said, into a live microphone to a full studio, "Your song's style is actually quite similar to mine. The craft isn't at my level yet, of course. Come to me sometime. As your mentor, I'll polish you." The studio went quiet in the way a forest goes quiet before something with teeth walks through. Fan Kai leaned in first, smelling blood. "Which of your songs does it resemble exactly? I'd love to study the similarity." Mei Ling piled on with the enthusiasm of a woman who'd been waiting all season. "Yes, I adore this style. Name the song. We'll all learn together." And Wei Cheng, cornered by his own flex, coughed up a title, some album cut of his called Entering the Demon. And then Mei Ling, and I want history to remember it was Mei Ling, turned to the control booth, sweet as syrup, and said, "Director, could we play Teacher Wei Cheng's song right now for educational purposes? The students are still on stage. Let them learn." The director, a man of the people, played it, over the studio speakers, in full, while the camera held a 2-shot of Wei Cheng's face and the audience's faces, and the 2 sets of faces slowly arrived at the same conclusion from opposite directions. Because the songs sounded nothing alike. Nothing. Not the key, not the rhythm, not the mood, not the genre, not the century. The comparison achieved the exact opposite of its purpose. 300 jurors and a national audience got a live A/B test of my song versus his, back to back. And the gap was the kind you could rent out as event space. The comments on the broadcast sampled for posterity. There's no harm without comparison. Wait, this is the harm. So that's the mentor's level? A teacher borrowing the student's homework to show off, and it's the wrong homework. Somebody wrote, "I still can't find the similarity. Can anyone circle it in red?" And somebody replied with 2 entirely different animals circled in red. Wei Cheng sat through roughly 90 seconds of his own song before he cracked and started laughing too loudly. "Ha ha ha, okay, director, we can stop, waving his arms like a man flagging down a rescue boat. The director let it play a few more bars. Petty. Beautiful. When it finally stopped, Fan Kai delivered the closer with a straight face. "Please do give my student pointers sometime, Teacher Wei. I want him to improve." The audience lost all discipline. Wei Cheng's thumbs up in response could have been used in acting schools as an example of the body saying words the soul does not endorse. The clip hit the internet with the caption, "Mentor requests comparison, receives autopsy," and outperformed the actual competition footage. He reportedly begged the production office to cut the segment from the broadcast edit. The production office, which had ratings to think about and no particular love for him after 2 rigging accusations, aired every frame. And that, kids, is the complete anatomy of a self-own. He walked onto the tracks voluntarily, flagged the train himself, and then asked the train for a favor. All I did was stand on the platform, having sung my song. Some episodes, revenge is a full-time job. That episode, it was a spectator sport with excellent seats. The avalanche went like this. Mid-tantrum, Duan Li, Luo Han's own roommate, a blunt instrument of a man who'd been collecting grievances all season, snapped and yelled the sentence everyone had been circling. "You want to talk about honor? Did you even write your own songs?" Luo Han lunged at him, actual fists. Two grown idols brawling in a dormitory corridor over a foot-washing basin while half the building filmed vertically. I stepped in, grabbed Luo Han by the collar, and pinned him to the floor with a joint lock. 2 years of hauling luggage and getting jumped outside bars teaches you things. And held him there until building security arrived and, I swear, called the mentors like teachers being summoned to a playground. The scandal hit the internet by morning. Celebrity brawl, broken bet, backstage footage. And here's where it turned dark, because someone uploaded the security camera video of the entire bet and the entire basin walk. Footage only accessible to, let's say, people with connections, edited for maximum humiliation. Luo Han's reputation detonated, his fans dissolved, and Huang Chao Entertainment, faced with a scratched asset, did what Huang Chao does, threw him away. Within a day, Wei Cheng announced on Weibo that Luo Han had voluntarily left his team and welcomed a replacement. Luo Han went to Lei Cheng's villa to beg. What he found was champagne on the table, 2 used glasses, a celebration already in progress, and his mentor, finally, luxuriously dropping the mask. Yes, Wei Cheng had leaked the video himself. Yes, the company was blacklisting him. You're no longer useful, the man told the kid he'd built and aimed and fired. Honestly, I was blind to think trash like you could compete with Lin Xuan. Then he had security drag him off the property, called an executive to finalize the industry ban, and toasted himself on the balcony. I want to be precise about my feelings here. Luo Han earned his fall. He took the poisoned resources with both hands, ran Wei Cheng's errands, and tried to bury me for a promotion. But watching Huang Chao unmake a 20-something kid in 48 hours, the exact machine that had unmade the original owner of this body, I felt the old cold in my stomach. That's the thing about serving monsters. The pay is great right up until you're the meal. The replacement walked in 2 days later, and he was a different weight class entirely. Xiao Han, 2.5 years of elite idol training overseas. Group debut experience, 15 million followers. Singer, dancer, rapper, triple threat, cheekbones with their own management. He arrived mid-season through a door held open by Wei Cheng, radiating the confidence of a man who's never been told no by anyone unrelated to him. First day, he strolled past our training room specifically to look at me, then reported back to Wei Cheng that he didn't see what the fuss was about. Meanwhile, his fans, and this is important for later, were the screaming kind, the security hazard kind. Sister Yue ran his file and called me with the tally. More followers than me, more stage experience than me, professional training I never got. Are you worried? Sister Yue, would you like to make another bet? She made a noise like a kettle deciding against boiling. The last bet, 5 songs, 1 million each, was already 4/5 complete and haunting her nightly. Small one, I offered. If I win the whole show, you buy me dinner. She agreed instantly, relieved, then double-crossed herself by adding that if I lost, I'd be buying her dinner for a month. Deal. Easiest month of free dinners I never had to pay for. While all this soap opera simmered, my other identity had a war of its own. Battle through the heavens had gotten so big that the inevitable happened. A rival site launched a blatant clone. Different names, same skeleton, aggressively promoted, and it was gaining fast on readers who'd never heard of the original. Gao Ming convened his editors in a panic. If the copycat's numbers passed the original, the accusation would flip. In a shouting match, the internet believes whoever's louder, and his site's entire comeback was riding on my book. Their conclusion, they needed a celebrity megaphone, fast. Their problem, celebrity promotion costs a fortune. Gao Ming called me, delicately, to ask whether I might know any famous people. I let the silence sit for exactly as long as it deserved. Then, announce it, the plan. I post on Weibo, reveal the pen name, the site backs it officially. Gao Ming nearly wept with gratitude, then spent a day watching his own staff speculate wildly about Cang Yun's identity while he vibrated with the secret. He told his family group chat he'd met a huge celebrity for work and posted a photo of us, my face, his grin, and his relatives spent an hour deciding whether it was photoshopped. When the editorial department finally learned the truth in their group chat, the messages devolved into keyboard smashing and one editor requesting nitroglycerin. But before the public reveal, the fandoms collided on their own. Wei Cheng, nursing his eternal rash about me, saw Battle Through the Heavens trending and couldn't resist posting a sneer. Some novel is dominating the charts, people will hype anything. Stop wasting public attention. He attached a photo of himself with a stack of foreign language books, presumably to establish intellectual credentials. My book fans, led by Shu Tao the Whale, who, recall, ran a professional media company out of sheer boredom, responded by exhuming an interview clip of Wei Cheng requiring a translator for basic English, side by side with his stack of English books, captioned, "We're all very impressed." Then they kept digging. His off-key concert clips, his unique, smoky vocals, a forensic breakdown of his singing process that ended in the nickname that stuck to him forever, the Serpent, because his live performances resembled a summoning ritual more than music. By morning, Wei Cheng Ritual compilation was outperforming his actual discography. The man tried to bully a book and got exorcised by its readership. I didn't lift a finger. I was busy. I had a competition to win and, apparently, a nation to reveal myself to. And right before the big reveal went public, the universe handed me one last private comedy about my double life, and I've been dining out on it ever since. Training break, dorm common room. Sunjia wandered over while I had the Battle Through the Heavens reader page open on my phone, checking my own numbers, Sumi, and lit up like a festival. "Xuange, you read it too?" "I dabble," I said, closing the tab with the speed of a man hiding contraband. What followed was a 15-minute unsolicited fan lecture delivered at me about my own novel. The plot theories, wrong, adorably. The favorite characters, correct, she has taste. The emotional damage of cliffhangers, deserved. And then she said the sentence that rearranged my afternoon. "It's the first novel I've ever really followed, so I tip Tang Yun every single update. I think I'm up to about 200,000 yuan total." 200,000 yuan. This girl, my bandmate, my friend, the person I saw eat instant noodles out of the pot to save washing a bowl, had personally wired $1/500,000 into my pocket, one grateful update at a time, with absolutely no idea the author was sitting 1 meter away pretending to stretch. I performed, if I may say so, an Oscar-grade recovery, nodded thoughtfully, said the author seemed hardworking, agreed that Sang Yun was probably a very handsome and reasonable person. Inside, I was composing a formal thank you speech to her family's fortune. "Thanks for the 200K, sister. Consider your pen cap upgraded to a full pen, spiritually." She then tried to recruit me into tipping. "Support good authors, Xuange. It's good karma." And I want it noted for the record that I, Sang Yun, was pressured by my own reader to send money to myself and only escaped by claiming poverty. A claim she accepted because, and I quote, "Singers don't make real money until later. Don't worry, your time will come." Sunjia, if you're reading this, my time had, in fact, come. It was coming about 10 times a day in chapter form. The kicker arrived a week later, after the reveal, when the whole country learned that Lin Shen and Cang Yun shared a body. I received exactly one text from her. No greeting, no punctuation at first, just 200,000 yuan, followed, after a strategic pause, by, "You will be writing me into the sequel as a beautiful genius, and you will be updating 15 chapters a day, and you owe me hot pot until we're 40. Terms accepted, sister. Cheapest 200,000 I ever spent, and technically, I didn't even spend it." The reveal went off like a controlled demolition, if the controls were also explosive. One Weibo post from me, one official confirmation from the site, one verified badge, Lin Xuan, contracted author of Blue Star Novel Network. Representative work, Battle Through the Heavens. Pen name, Cang Yun. Within the hour, 7 of the top 10 trending topics were mine. The Singer fans and the book fans discovered they'd been two arms of the same fandom all along, and merged like binary stars. My follower count crossed 10 million in 60 minutes. The Singers Guild servers hiccuped from the login surge, and my 3 released songs retook the top 3 chart slots in formation, like they'd never left. The novel's concurrent readers went from 2 million to 8 million in an evening. The site had pre-rented extra servers on Gao Ming's hunch, which is the only reason it survived. The clone book? Flattened. Nobody argues provenance with a man whose name is on the trending list 7 times. Sister Yue's phone call about it deserves its own museum exhibit. She'd connected the dots on the drive over. Her artist, whom she managed daily, was also the author whose novel she'd been reading before bed every night. "How long were you going to hide this from me?" Sister Yue, respectfully, until the exact moment it became a marketing weapon, which was today. Then she demanded a signed copy of the eventual print edition and hung up before I could laugh. And Wei Chung? Wei Chung was having the worst week of his gilded life. His sneer post had aged into a public monument to bad judgment. The Serpent compilations were multiplying. Brand partners were calling his manager with concerns. And then the killing blow came from the most petty direction imaginable. The chairman of Huangchao Entertainment, Wei Chung's own company, had a teenage daughter. The daughter was a die-hard Battle Through the Heavens fan. When she learned her dad's company's top star had insulted her favorite author, she declared a hunger strike at the family dinner table. I'm going to say that again. A billionaire's daughter refused dinner until Wei Chung apologized to me. Between Blue Star's official pressure, the collapsing brand deals, and a chairman who just wanted his kid to eat, the directive came down from the very top. And so the nation woke up to a Weibo post nobody could believe. Wei Chung, top idol, formally apologizing to Lin Shen for underestimating his novel, which he had now read and found truly excellent. His fans took it as gracious humility. Everyone else took screenshots. I took a long, warm sip of tea. We happened to cross paths in the corridor at the studio that week. He was smoking, saw me, and his hand shook enough to drop ash on his own trousers. "Don't get cocky," he hissed as I passed. I didn't even slow down. "You're the one looking up at me, buddy. How's the view?" And the mountain kept growing. Because right about then, Xiao Cho quietly crossed 10 million downloads, diamond certification, in barely 2 months on my debut single. 2 days later, those fleeting years crossed 10 million too. Back-to-back diamonds on my first 2 songs, a thing no artist in this world's history had done. The Guild announced they'd be pressing both golden discs and holding a formal award ceremony. What I didn't know was who'd be handing them over. The Singers Guild. Some context. It's the closest thing this world's music industry has to a royal court. Founded 50 years ago by 10 musicians who are now industry god-tier elders, national treasure singers, textbook composers, the people actual kings and queens of pop bow to. Diamond certifications are usually handed out by whichever 1 or 2 elders can be bothered. For mine, all 10 convened. That hadn't happened in years, and the last time it was to crown a superstar. But the real story was the man at the head of the table, Elder Yuan, founder of the guild itself, a legend in a wheelchair in his 70s, who'd been living abroad with his son for years, having sworn he'd only return to China once he found a successor, an heir to carry his legacy, and, eventually, a seat at the guild's summit. The entire industry had spent years betting on who it would be. The consensus shortlist was 2 names, Fan Lei, the reigning king of singers, and Mei Zhen, the queen of pop fresh off international awards. Both had given magnanimous interviews about respecting whatever the old man decided, radiating the confidence of people who'd already drafted acceptance speeches. Elder Yuan flew home, wheeled into the guild's conference room, where the other 9 elders were discussing my diamond ceremony, listened for 2 minutes, and announced, "I came back because I found him. Lin Xuan will be my successor." The room, per multiple eyewitnesses, immediately devolved into a retirement home brawl, because it turned out 7 of the other elders had been privately considering me for their own succession, and now the founder was claiming me by seniority. Actual quotes leaked later. "You can wait 2 more years. I'm practically at death's door. We agreed not to fight over him. I genuinely like this child. Let me through." 8 of the 10 most venerated figures in national music, bidding on a rookie with a 3-month career, like aunties over the last good fish at the market. Elder Yuan won, obviously. Founders always win. And I knew none of it. I was at home eating instant noodles over my keyboard, updating chapter after chapter, blissfully unaware that the industry's Mount Olympus had just held an auction, and the lot was me. I later found out exactly which evening sealed the succession, and it wasn't a boardroom. It was a living room, with tea going cold. The night before the elders convened, Elder Chao had come over to Elder Yuan's villa for their standing chess and slander appointment, and Elder Chao mentioned that the rookie everyone kept talking about was on television right then. The team round of Tomorrow's Star was airing. Elder Yuan, who hadn't voluntarily watched a variety show since the invention of the format, grunted and told him to put it on, purely for due diligence. The first team performed. Elder Yuan critiqued the arrangement key like a man grading a student paper. "Wrong register for that voice, the high notes are begging for mercy. and Elder Tao nodded along. The second team performed, more grating, slightly warmer, due diligence proceeding normally, two old masters enjoying the pleasant activity of being unimpressed. Then my band came on, and, I have this from Elder Tao, who tells it with hand gestures, the critique stopped. Elder Yuan sat forward. Then he sat further forward, which in a wheelchair means his knuckles went white on the armrests. When Ordinary Road hit its bridge, the part about crossing mountains and seas and crowds, losing everything and finding that ordinary was the only answer, the founder of the Singers Guild, a man who'd spent 50 years hearing every note this country produced, started tapping the beat on his armrest without noticing he was doing it. By the last chorus, his eyes were wet, and Elder Chow, watching sideways, had the tact to say nothing about it and has compensated by telling everyone since. When it ended, Elder Yuan was quiet for a while. Then he said, and this is the part they both repeat word for word, "That's not a rookie singing about hardship. That's someone who came out the other side of it. You can't teach that. You can only survive into it." Then, allegedly, they had a brief fight about whose successor I should be, which Elder Chow lost on seniority, a defeat he still appeals at every dinner. "I saw him first," he insists, which is factually untrue, and Elder Yuan says so, and then they argue about a chess game from several years ago, and Chow Li Hua confiscates the board, and that's just what family dinners are like at the summit of the national music industry, in case you wondered. But the detail I keep coming back to is smaller. Elder Chow told me that when the broadcast ended that night, Elder Yuan had him rewind, a 70-something legend wrestling a smart TV, so he could listen to the bridge one more time. And when it played again, the old man closed his eyes and said, mostly to himself, "The wife would have liked this kid." I didn't hear about that until much later, long after the ceremony, long after grandson. And I'm telling you now what I did when I finally heard it. I went home, sat at the piano, and played that bridge through once, alone, for a woman I never met. Because somewhere along the way, this stopped being networking, and I've made my peace with that. Then the next morning, the old man beat me at chess by moving a piece while I poured his tea. So don't worry, the universe maintains its balance. Award Day. Sister Yue turned into a general staging a coronation. Custom suit, new hair, dyed dark brown, stylists orbiting me like moons. When I walked out of the fitting room, the manager floor went quiet in a way that HR probably has a policy about. Even the chairman of Blue Star himself came down to the lobby, shook my hand, and said, cryptically, "You're about to become very important to this company." Sir, I've been important. You're just late. Also, minor incident. Mid-makeup, I spotted a young woman crouched behind a clothing rack sneaking photos of me and reported a paparazzi infiltration to Sister Yue, who arrived with 2 security guards and found her own cousin. Qin CC, manager, superfan, hazard. She was escorted out clutching her phone like contraband, while Sister Yue apologized to me for her bloodline. The photos, I'm told, became her phone wallpaper anyway. 10 black cars pulled up. 10 elders emerged, flashbulbs going off like artillery. Elder Yuan, silver-haired, shark-eyed, wheeled at the front. I was introduced, he looked me up and down for a long moment, and something in the old man's face just settled, like a compass finding north. He talked to me all the way down the hall. Small things, my recording setup, whether I ate properly. By the time we reached the stage, I was pushing his wheelchair myself and nobody had assigned me to. It had simply become obvious that this was my job. I received the 2 diamond discs from his hands, heavier than they look, gold catching the lights, the physical proof that a shelved nobody had just lapped an industry. And then Elder Yuan gripped the microphone, looked out at a room full of reporters, and detonated the news cycle. "Let everyone here bear witness. I, Yuan Song, hereby declare Lin Xuan my chosen successor." I learned about it in real time along with the rest of the country. My face on the Jumbotron did most of the reacting for me. The reporters went feral. The 2 superstars who'd been measuring the throne, Fan Lei and Mei Zhen, became in a single sentence the punchline of the year, their gracious pre-interviews replayed with laugh tracks. And when a reporter asked the obvious hostile question, "How does a 3-month rookie deserve this?" Elder Yuan cheerfully volunteered that 7 other elders had fought him for me, and he'd had to pull founder's rank. The room's collective jaw required maintenance. Then one reporter went for the throat. Guo Fei, a man famous for filleting celebrities on camera, stood up, smiled thinly, and said, You claim your songs are all recent originals, not stockpiled from your 2 shelved years. Prove it. Improvise one. Right now. I'll even give you the theme. The room temperature dropped. Sister Yue started forward. Elder Yuen stayed silent, deliberately, I realized later. The old man wanted to see it too. Theme? I asked. Gratitude, the reporter said, with the confidence of a man who'd just checkmated a rookie on live camera. Write a song about gratitude. On the spot, in front of 10 industry gods. Is there a piano? There was. They wheeled it out. I sat down, thought for a moment. I came into this world like a speck of dust, who saw my fragility, who called my name, and played it. A song from my old world about owing your existence to the people who carried you. Verse, build, chorus. Thank you for being with me through this life, for giving me the courage to be myself. I let the last chord ring out into a silent room, turned around, and found the 10 most decorated musicians in the country wet-eyed, the assembled press corps sniffling into their recorders, and Guo Fei standing there holding his microphone like he'd forgotten what it was for. Somebody had promised to eat his own mic if I pulled it off. The footage exists. The mic survived, technically. Elder Yuen laughed, a huge, delighted, decade-younger laugh, and slapped the armrest of his wheelchair. I knew it. I knew it. Come to my house. I have things to teach you and no time to waste. The fallout ran for a week. The improvised song Gratitude was formally released and shot up the charts on pure legend. Guo Fei posted a public apology, the attack dog reporter, apologizing, which by itself trended, and my follower count sprinted toward 20 million. A dozen veteran singers, feeling the earthquake, announced sudden new releases to defend the charts from a rookie. It didn't help them. Nothing was helping anybody that month, but the part I actually kept, the part that mattered more than all the discs and headlines, I started visiting Elder Yuan's villa. And I have to tell you about this because somewhere between the singing lessons and the chess games, he cheats at chess, openly, moving pieces back when he thinks I'm not looking, this national treasure. The visits stopped being networking and started being family. I'm an orphan twice over, both lives. Never had a grandfather in either of them. Now suddenly there was this brilliant, mischievous old man who saved me the good tea, bragged about me to his ancient friends until they begged him to stop, and got genuinely cranky if I skipped a week. One evening, I found him alone with a photo of his late wife, talking to her. Telling her about me, actually. Old woman, wait a bit longer down there. I found a good kid. You'd have fed him until he burst. Yeah, I'd have burned down 10 careers for that old man. Fortunately, the plot only required a few. Back at Tomorrow's Star, the next round was teams again, and now Zhao Han got his big entrance, the returned overseas trainee, introduced to screaming that briefly registered on seismographs. His fans genuinely tried to rush the stage. Security had to drag several out, and here's the detail I clocked. When a girl near the barrier almost went down under the crush, I was the one shouting a warning at security, while Xiao Han stood on stage smiling at the chaos like it was applause. The audience clocked it too. Cameras see everything, kids. His performance was legitimately polished, singing, dancing, the full overseas package, and his duo pulled 295 votes. Wei Cheng preened like a proud landlord. Chen Hao's team took 273. Then my band went up with a new original called Chasing Dreams, Young Heart, a song I'd written in under half an hour after Fan Kai assigned the theme, a fact Wang Tao ratted out to the host on stage because the man cannot hold information. The crowd's disbelief lasted right up until the chorus hit them in the sternum. Mid-song, one of our voices cracked on the big note, and the crowd surged harder, because a crack at the top of a scream is just honesty with reverb. 300 votes. Again. Second unanimous sweep in show history. Both mine. Wei Cheng, incredibly, went back to the well, muttered on camera that a voice crack should disqualify a perfect score, got reminded by Fan Kai of his own legendary off-key festival performances. You called it emotional expression then, no? And shut down like unplugged equipment. Xiao Han's jaw did something complicated. His team took second. The elimination fell on his teammate. And my two bandmates, Wang Tao and Sun Jia, went out that round in the individual votes. The price of standing next to me on stage, honestly, and the three of us hugged it out while the audience wept. See you at the summit, I told Sun Jia, and watched her decide, mid-tears, to believe it. Keep that phrase. It comes back. Then the semi-final twist landed. Star Night. Each remaining contestant performs a duet with an industry friend. Live broadcast. Jury votes. Last place eliminated. Translation: a connections contest. Xiao Han lit up like a slot machine. His aunt, it turned out, was Mei Zhen. The Mei Zhen, Queen of Pop, international award winner, one of the two superstars publicly humiliated by my succession announcement, meaning she'd bring both firepower and a grudge. Wei Cheng practically purred on camera about it, then twisted the knife. I hear Lin Xuan's guest is a college student. The internet ate itself. Even my fans went quiet in that worried way fans do. They didn't know where I'd been spending my evenings. Elder Yuan's oldest friend in the guild is Elder Chao, the guild's current president, a national treasure vocalist in his own right. And Elder Chao has a successor of his own, a girl he raised like a daughter, kept deliberately out of the entertainment industry. Cao Lihua. Resume: brace yourself. National choir lead vocalist at 20, performing for heads of state at 15, world tour completed at 18, and show under the stage name Cao Luan, the youngest concert pianist in the country. The kind of person pop stars claim to have once met, the kind who turns down variety shows on principle because the entertainment industry is beneath actual artists. The two old men introduced us over tea with the subtlety of two grandpas parking a wedding car in the driveway. Elder Yuan's opening. Ranran, this is my successor. Lin Xuan, this is Li's successor. You young people talk. Then, both elders announced they were going outside to enjoy the sun. It was 38 degrees. There was no sun a human would enjoy. They practically skipped. Also, and I will treasure this forever, her stage name, Cao Luan, she'd chosen it years ago after the heroine of her favorite novel. She was a book fan. Of a book genre my book had just detonated. When she found out I was Tang Yun, she went through all 5 stages of grief and settled on aggressively demanding spoilers, which I refused, which she declared unforgivable, which meant she had to keep coming back. The deal we struck for Star Night: she'd be my guest, as a favor to Elder Yuan, officially, if I wrote a song she actually liked. What kind of song? I asked. The two eavesdropping elders shouted from the doorway, in stereo, a love song. Subtle as freight trains, those two. So I wrote A Little Sweet in half an hour while she noodled Chopin nearby, and when she read the sheet, a duet, playful, an apple handed over a doorway, summer cola and winter cocoa, she narrowed her eyes at me. Have you been in love? You can't write this without data. I explained that observation is a songwriter's whole job. She did not look convinced. We arranged it as a 4-hands piano duet, both of us on one bench, and somewhere in rehearsal week, between her nailing the part in one read-through because of course she did, and the evening our eyes met on the turnaround and she fumbled a note for the first time in her professional life and blamed the humidity, somewhere in there, the rehearsals stopped being rehearsals. I'm not saying the two elders watched us from the doorway giggling like schoolboys. I'm saying I heard a wheelchair squeak retreating, twice. One more from that stretch of the show, because eliminations kept teaching me things about myself I hadn't budgeted for. When the round 5 results dropped my bandmates from the tournament, Sun Jia stood on that stage holding her smile up with both hands, and I told her the thing I actually believed. This is one small competition in a long life. Be worthy of the era, be worthy of yourself. Safe travels, and see you at the summit. She repeated it, see you at the summit, and something in her spine reassembled on camera. And fine, yes, the clip made the rounds with sad piano music underneath, and yes, the phrase ended up on fan banners for years. I stand by it. It was a good sentence, and I meant every word. The problem was Duan Li. He'd been eliminated in the same batch. Xiao Han's arrival had demolished his lane, and he'd been standing right there during my whole summit speech, waiting. The moment the cameras panned away, he was in front of me, arms crossed, deeply aggrieved. And me? Where's mine? You gave her a whole graduation ceremony. I got eliminated too. I considered the man, blunt, loyal, the only person on Wei Cheng's team who'd never once played dirty, the guy who'd shouted the first public doubt about Luo Han's songs and eaten a fist for it. Take everything I just said to her, I told him, and multiply it by 2. He blinked. That's it? Multiply it? Summit times 2. Very high summit. Bring oxygen. He called me the stingiest person he'd ever met, then laughed so hard he had to sit down. Then, this is the part that got me, quietly asked if the multiplied version still counted as a real send-off because he wanted to write it down. He wrote it down on his phone, filed under "He showed me things to prove." Here's what I actually learned in those weeks, between one elimination hug and the next. I'd come into this world with a plan that had exactly 2 lines: get to the top, settle the debt. Somewhere along the way, the plan had grown a 3rd line without asking me, and the 3rd line was these people. A loudmouth bassist guarding my pen like a shrine. A ballerina with a pen cap in her performance bag. A blunt instrument with my recycled blessing saved in his notes app. A reviewer who quit her job on the strength of one chorus and was now grinding through vocal classes at night. The original owner of this body spent 2 years learning exactly how empty a crowded industry can be. 10 months in, I was learning the opposite lesson at the same address. The summit's real, and I was climbing it fast. But I'd stopped climbing it alone somewhere around the 2nd unanimous vote, and honestly, the view was better with the noise. Anyway, sentiment logged, filed, back to the war. There was still a finale to win, a traitor to invoice, and a bet riding on all of it that would decide whether I got free dinner for life or bought it for a month. Priorities: Star Night, live broadcast, no edits, no safety net. Xiao Han went early and played his ace, Mei Jin, queen of pop, gliding on stage to a sound like a jet engine full of teenagers. Say what you want about her motives, the woman is a professional. She sang her own classic with her nephew, held back just enough to make him shine, and the duet earned 298 out of 300, 2 votes short of perfect. Backstage, Xiao Han was already practicing his champion face. Wei Cheng told the other mentors on air, "Let's see the college student top that." Then the host announced me and declined to name my guest because the director wanted the moment raw. I walked out. Behind me walked Cao Lihua, white gown, spine of a swan, the single most famous non-celebrity in the country. The live stream chat physically broke. Viewer count went from 500,000 to over 1 million in 60 seconds as screenshots ricocheted across the internet. Gu Ran Ran is on a variety show. Gu Ju left her mountain. For who? Mei Jin, watching backstage, had her confidence exit her body on camera. Because whatever a queen of pop is, the national concert pianist outranks it the way a museum outranks a gift shop. And everyone in that building knew it. Wei Chang's smirk died so fast it should have gotten a funeral. Mei Ling, from the mentor seats, asked the question for the nation. How do you two even know each other? Cao Lihua, serene. Grandpa Chin asked me. I wasn't going to come. Then he wrote a song in half an hour that changed my mind. The implications of that sentence kept 3 fan forums running for a month. Then we sat down at one piano, 4 hands, and gave them a little sweet. I'll spare you my own review and give you the rooms. By the 2nd chorus, the live audience was swaying in couples, singles were filing formal complaints in the chat, and when we hit the eye contact turnaround, the one she used to fumble, she didn't fumble it, she smiled into it, and half the country's screens lit up with variations of "I'm so single, it hurts." Confession posts started appearing in real time. People were pausing the stream to text their crushes. We finished, the hall stood, and the vote came back. 300. Perfect. 3rd unanimous score of my run, against a queen of pop's 298. Wei Cheng could not help himself. He grabbed the mic to declare it unfair, bringing the Cao Lihua to a talent show. Isn't that abusing connections? Apparently forgetting he'd spent the week gloating about his own contestant's superstar aunt. Mei Ling repeated his own words back to him verbatim, with page citations. And then Cao Lihua leaned into her microphone, looked at him with the polite curiosity of a scientist examining mold, and said, "Sorry, which mentor are you? I've never heard any of your songs. Are you perhaps a backup singer?" The serpent, unmade in one sentence by a woman who genuinely didn't know who he was. The clip outtrended the actual performance. Somewhere in the venue, a camera caught Mei Jin laughing before she could cover it. Backstage afterward, Wang Tao materialized for autographs and asked Cao Lihua, with his signature diplomacy, what benefits I'd offered to get her on a variety show. She raised an eyebrow. Guess. His guess was so catastrophically inappropriate that I hit him with his own notebook, and Cao Lihua laughed hard enough to bend at the waist, and Wang Tao, rubbing his head, pointed between us and said, "Oh. Oh." Yes, fine. Oh. The elders, meanwhile, ran interference on the press, like 2 silver-haired bodyguards, publicly confirming Cao Lihua as Elder Cao's successor and stating for the record that she'd come because my song earned it, not as a favor, which was them protecting both our reputations with the smoothness of men who'd survived 50 years of this industry. Then they threw us a private celebration dinner where 8 legendary musicians toasted me in shifts until Cao Lihua staged an intervention, dragged me to the garden to look at the moon, and stood there, moon fully behind clouds, insisting it was very round tonight. "You're right," I said, looking at her. "Great view." She turned crimson and fled indoors, wishing me good night at a volume usually reserved for train announcements. The elimination that night fell on Wang Tao. His duet with Fan Kai pulled a respectable 287, but respectable doesn't survive semifinals. He cried, hugged me hard enough to relocate a rib, and made me swear we'd share a stage again. Noted, brother. Filed under promises I intend to keep. Which left 3 names for the finale: Chen Hao, Xiao Han, me. And 2 days before it, a knock on my dressing room door. Wei Chung, alone, no cameras, with the face of a man who'd rehearsed in the mirror. He'd come to offer me a deal, and finally, after 2 years and 1 lifetime, to say the quiet part out loud. Fan Kai was in the room when Wei Chung knocked, and his protective instincts fired so hard he later admitted he'd been mentally listing which objects could block acid. I asked him to give us the room. "We're old acquaintances," I said. Fan Kai looked between us, did the math on the timeline, my burial, this man's rise, same company, same year, and left with the expression of a man who'd just solved a murder in his head. Door closed. Wei Chung dropped the mentor voice. "What happened back then? I did wrong you." First honest sentence I'd ever heard from him. It lasted 1 sentence. "But I couldn't beat you fairly. You were better at everything." I wasn't going to just accept that. Then the offer. "Let's settle it like last time, a competition. If Xiao Han takes the championship, you keep the past buried, and you leave the industry, retire, forever." I actually admired the mechanism. He couldn't attack me directly anymore. I was too big, too protected, too adjacent to Elder Yuan. So he'd built a proxy war, his golden boy, armed with a secret weapon, against me, with my silence and my exile as the stakes. "And when I win," I said, "you won't." Xiao Han's finale song was written by an Emperor-tier composer. He said it like a man revealing a tank. Emperor-tier. The composers whose names alone guarantee platinum, the maybe 5 people alive shelf. His backer had spent a fortune. Nobody beats that. "Then you have nothing to fear," I said. "So, when I win, you confess. Publicly. All of it." His face went through several weathers. And here's where I opened my hand, just a little, because after 2 years he'd earned a preview. By the way, the bars that kept firing me, the city inspectors who smashed my gear, the hotel job, "I know it was you, buddy," I've known for a long time. Watching him realize that the man he'd been secretly strangling for 2 years had been keeping receipts the entire time, that was worth more than the championship. He left without agreeing out loud. He didn't need to. The bet was on the moment his pride accepted the terms, and his pride had never declined anything in its life. Finale night. Biggest studio in the building, live nationwide, every seat sold, my name on half the light boards in the dark. Chen Hao went first. A cover, smartly chosen, warmly sung. 253. A dignified bronze medal performance, and he knew it. He'd told me backstage his real goal had just been to share a finale with me, which, Chen Hao, you class act, see you on a chart someday. Then Xiao Han, and credit where due, the Emperor-tier song was a monster. Soaring, cinematic, tailored to his voice like a bespoke suit. The crowd roared. The jury lit up. 299 out of 300. 1 vote off perfect. The highest non-me score in the season's history. Wei Cheng was already half out of his chair. Xiao Han bowed like a man accepting a crown that hadn't been announced yet. And then, me. No pyro, no dancers. White t-shirt, jeans. The outfit of a guy who came to tell the truth. The song I'd saved for last was called The First Dream, about pride slapped down by the ocean of reality. About a dream going off a cliff and learning it had wings. About planting your tears and growing courage out of them. It was, without ever saying so, the entire story of the kid whose body I inherited. Shelved, mocked, singing alone into a cheap microphone for 2 years, refusing to die. I sang it to that kid. The building came apart. When the last note faded, the silence held for 3 full seconds, the sound of 300 jurors remembering how to breathe, and then the score posted. 300. Perfect. 4th unanimous sweep. Champion of tomorrow's star, wire to wire, never once dropping a single vote in any round of the entire season. Zhao Han's composure lasted 4 seconds, and then he demanded, live, on air, that the voting machines be inspected for malfunction. His logic, spoken aloud into a hot mic, an emperor-tier composition cannot lose to a rookie's homework, therefore, hardware failure. Director Zheng Tao, who by now had survived 1 rigging accusation this season and had a taste for public receipts, simply said, check them. Technicians walked the aisles testing all 300 devices one by one while the nation watched, the tally on the big screen climbing. 50 functional, 100 functional, 200, 300, all of them, working, every vote real. Zhao Han stood in the wreckage of his own tantrum while the internet coined, maybe the machine is broken, as the new national phrase for sore losers. His aunt, Mei Zhen, to her genuine credit, dragged him aside afterward and told him the truth his whole entourage never had. The other man sang an original, you sang a purchase. He beat you at the starting line, not the finish. Also, she added, stay away from Wei Cheng, that man uses people. Auntie saw it in a week. Some people pay for that lesson with their whole careers. That night, we celebrated at a street hot pot joint. On Sister Yue's card, a bet is a bet, and the champion eats free. The table. Me, Sister Yue, Wang Tao, Sun Jia, and Cao Lihua, who invited herself by phone with the argument, how do you celebrate without me? Am I not people? And arrived 20 minutes later to the visible awe of everyone present. The waiter recognized me and not her, asked for my autograph, and her offended little, excuse me, face is stored permanently in my long-term memory next to the 2 diamond discs. Mid-toast, Sister Yue's phone rang. Then mine buzzed. Then everyone's. Wei Cheng had posted. The post, verbatim spirit if not verbatim words, I'm sorry, I lied to everyone. My 3 debut hit songs were not written by me. Their author is Lin Shen. We were friends. After he was shelved, I released his songs as my own. I apologized to him and to every fan who loved those songs. 50 million followers received that in their feeds simultaneously. Within 10 seconds, the comments were a landslide. Within 30 minutes, it was the #1 topic in the country. Within the hour, every media outlet had the same headline. Top idol admits career built on stolen songs. Here's what the public didn't know. He posted it because a bet is a bet, and because confessing on his own terms was the only move that left him a sliver of survival. If I exposed him instead, he'd get the same annihilation plus lawsuits plus 0 sympathy. He sat alone in the dark in front of that computer, hovered over the button for a long time, his manager described the scene later, and pressed it like a man signing his own demolition order. And at our hot pot table, Sister Yue read the news, turned to me slowly and said, did you know he stole your songs? Of course, I said, dipping a slice of beef. They were the first things I ever wrote. The table detonated. Wang Tao choked on a fishball. Cao Lihua's chopsticks froze midair and her eyes went from wide to wide, because now Wei Cheng's every on-camera jab at me replayed in everyone's head with subtitles. The man critiquing my songwriting had built his entire career on my songwriting. The internet made that exact compilation by morning. It has a laugh track. I did not commission it. I have watched it 11 times. The collapse was total and self-accelerating. Song theft is the unforgivable sin in a world with sacred copyright. His songs were delisted from every platform. Brands stampeded for the exits. The breach penalties alone ran past 100 million. Fans posted grief essays, then receipts, then goodbye. The Serpent compilations got a triumphant 2nd season, and Huangchao Entertainment, master of the disposable asset, blacklisted their own top star inside a week. His image scrubbed from shows, his name a legal hazard. The man who'd erased me was being erased in public by the same machine, and I want to tell you I felt something complicated about the symmetry. I felt great. It was symmetrical and deserved. Rare combo. But Wei Cheng had 1 card left, and this is where it stops being funny for a minute. He went to see Gu Hai Tao, a senior Huangchao executive, the actual hands that had shelved me 2 years ago on Wei Cheng's manufactured evidence. Wei Cheng had been blackmailing him for years with proof of something genuinely evil. Gu Hai Tao had assaulted a young trainee named Tang Ruo, and when she resisted, had her hurt so badly she ended up in a wheelchair, then buried it with money, surveillance on her family, and hired muscle when her father protested too loudly. That blackmail was how a second-place talent show kid had extracted top star resources from a company for 2 years. Now, drowning, he pulled the same leash. Save me, or it all comes out. What neither of them knew, I knew Tang Ruo. During my 2 shelved years, the original owner of this body had met her, another broken casualty of the same building, a girl who'd stopped speaking, stopped crying, stopped. He'd visited, played her songs, kept her tethered to the world when her own family's hair was going white from grief, and quietly, patiently, between hotel shifts, wearing a cleaner's uniform nobody looks at twice, he'd been collecting testimony, records, and 1 USB drive of financial files copied from a broken office computer he'd been called to mop around, showing Gu Haitao embezzling company funds by the truckload. So when Gu Haitao showed up at Elder Yuan's villa, uninvited, oily, offering me 10 million yuan to sell him the 3 stolen songs and make the story go away, I let him finish his pitch in the garden. Cao Lihua had spent the visit glaring at him like she was pricing coffins. The elders didn't yet know who he was. Then I told him 3 things. 1. I don't need 10 million. My novel makes that in a month. 2. The photo Wei Chung has been leashing you with? I know exactly what it shows, because I'm the one who made sure it reached him. A leash I planted 2 years ago and have been waiting to yank. 3. A man who can be blackmailed once can be blackmailed forever, unless the girl stops being afraid. He left without saying goodbye to the elders. Rude. Also doomed. What followed took 2 weeks. Tang Ruo, with my promise standing next to her and, let's be honest, terrifying backup from Elder Yuan's circle once the old men learned the story and started slamming canes on tables, sat in front of a camera in her wheelchair and told the country everything. Other victims, seeing her survive the telling, came forward behind her. Then the embezzlement files landed on Huang Chao's board, the police and the press simultaneously, because I believe in redundancy. Gu Haitao was arrested within days. The trial stacked embezzlement on assault, on intimidation, and the sentence came back. Life. His assets, auctioned. Tang Ruo won her civil case, and when she wheeled out of that courthouse into the sun, her parents crying behind her, she called me. Brother Lin Xuan, I want to sing again. I want a stage again. Then practice, I told her, grinning at the ceiling. You've had 2 years off. I expect results. She laughed for the first time in a very long time. And honestly, volcano lowering is satisfying, but that laugh is the trophy from this arc. As for Wei Cheng, leash gone, protector imprisoned by the very scandal he'd tried to weaponize, company gone, songs gone, name gone, total industry ban, penalties that ate everything he owned. The last anyone saw of him professionally was his manager helping him pack boxes out of a company-owned apartment. 2 years ago, he buried a friend to steal a life. It took me 1 season of television to repossess it. Sing about that, the serpent. A word about Mei Zhen, the queen of pop, because her arc through Star Night was the most human thing a superstar did all season. And she's earned the full record. Understand her starting position. Weeks earlier, the entire industry had crowned her the presumptive heir to Elder Yuan's legacy. She'd given the gracious interviews. Her fans had pre-celebrated. Then the old man wheeled out of retirement and picked a half-year rookie. And overnight, her graciousness became a national punchline. Every clip of her saying, "I'll respect his decision," replayed with circus music. She didn't do anything to deserve that ridicule, but the internet doesn't bill the right account. It bills the nearest famous one. So when her nephew Xiao Han came begging for a Star Night guest, she said yes for family, and, she admitted later, 20% to personally inspect the rookie who'd cost her the throne. Backstage before the show, she was ice and armor. Watch closely, Xiao Fei. I'll show you what a decade at the top sounds like. And she did. Her duet was flawless, restrained where it helped her nephew, luminous where it counted, the work of a professional who could sand a stage with her voice. 298 was not a defeat. It was a masterclass with a rounding error. Then Cao Lihua walked out on my arm, and I watched. Everyone watched. The queen of pop's face do something complicated. Because in her world, there was exactly one person whose presence outranked hers so absolutely that competition became irrelevant. And that person had just appeared on a variety show, voluntarily, for a rookie. After the scores posted, a junior reporter fishing for drama asked how it felt to lose. And Mei Zhen, mic in hand, laughed, genuinely, and said, "Losing to Cao Lihua? That's not losing. That's being present for a rare event. Some of you will tell your grandchildren you were in this room." class, actual class. And then she went backstage and delivered the second classiest act of the night, grabbing her sulking nephew before his tantrum could reach a camera and administering the truth transfusion his entire entourage had been withholding for years. You lost at the starting line, not the finish, he sang his song. You sang a purchase. Your 2 years of training showed, his talent showed more. Those are different resources, and only one of them compounds. And she added this unprompted, which is why I'll always rate her, stay away from Wei Chang. I've met 100 of him. He hands people knives and collects the fingerprints. Xiao Han didn't listen, of course, not that season. Pride, at that age, has excellent noise canceling. But the seed sat there. Months later, after the finals, after the voting machine humiliation, it was Mei Zhen's words he came back to, and the kid actually did the unthinkable, put his head down, stopped feuding, and started training like a man who'd finally located the actual starting line. I know because he sent me exactly one message that winter. No apology, no warmth, just, rematch someday, a real one. I replied, bring your own song. He liked the message and said nothing, which from him was practically a hug. As for Mei Zhen and me, at the after event, she crossed the whole room, wine glass in hand, looked me over like a customs inspection, and said, the old man chose right. It cost me a crown to admit that, so don't waste it. Then she clinked my glass and left before I could answer. The industry had spent months telling me who my enemies were. Nobody warned me the occasional opponent would turn out to be the most honorable person in the building. I keep a short list of people from that year who surprised me upward. She's on it, right near the top, in ink. And while I'm handing out honors, Chen Hao, the third man in that finale and the rival I never once had to duck. Rewind his year alongside mine. Before I existed publicly, Chen Hao was the newcomer month story, an unsigned nobody whose song climbed to daily #1 on pure quality, no label, no machine. For 3 weeks, he was the miracle. Then my song landed in the final 8 days and rewrote the record books, and his miracle became a footnote in mine. That's the kind of thing that curdles most people. It didn't curdle him. Wang Xing signed him, hired him master coaches, built him up round after round, and every single time we crossed paths backstage, the man was decent. No scheming, no sniping, no leaked quotes. When Luo Han was pulling his nonsense, it was Chen Hao crouched at my dorm door with popcorn energy, co-heckling the foot-washing delinquent through the wall. When Xiao Han arrived breathing fire, Chen Hao just trained harder. Before the finale, in the corridor, he told me the thing that reframed the whole night. I know how this ends. I've watched you all season. You don't have a gear I can reach yet. I'm not here to beat you. Pause. I'm here so that when they write about tonight, my name's in the same paragraph as yours. That's my win condition. Then he went out, sang a cover, smart choice. His own writing was his known gap, and he refused to expose it on finals night, tactically flawless, and took his 253 and his bronze with a straight back and a full bow. At the after party, he found me again, drink in hand, and upgraded the contract between us. Next time we meet on a chart, I'll have my own songs. Original versus original, a real duel. I told him I'd keep a slot warm. We shook on it, an actual handshake bet. My third favorite kind of bet after dinner bets and career-destroying bets. And I want the record to show I meant it, because rivals like Chen Hao are infrastructure. Villains sharpen your teeth. Rivals sharpen your craft. A career needs both, but only one of them can you drink with. Postscript. Because his year didn't end at the finale, that winter, Wang Xing released his first fully self-written single. I bought it at midnight, first hour, full price. I have standards about betting etiquette, and listened twice. It was good, not there yet, but good, with that unmistakable grain of a man writing his own life instead of renting someone else's. I posted one public line about it. The duel's getting closer. Keep going. His fans framed it. His label reposted it within 4 minutes because free marketing from the season champion is free marketing. And privately, he messaged, "Was that praise or a challenge?" "Yes," I replied. He sent back a fist emoji, and that was the entire conversation. And honestly, some of the healthiest communication I had all year. Somewhere out there right now, Chen Hao is writing verse 2 of his career specifically to come take a chart from me someday, and I genuinely hope he makes it a fight, because a summit with no one climbing toward you isn't a summit. It's just a ledge with good lighting. Somewhere in the middle of the Wei Chung demolition, I had a contract meeting for the novel, the site upgrading my split to 70-30 because Battle Through the Heavens was now carrying their entire business on its back, and Cao Lihua invited herself along as security. I want to describe her security concept accurately because it deserves academic study. She showed up in a full Taekwondo uniform, black belt. I asked, carefully, whether she'd studied Taekwondo. She had not. She'd studied Wing Chun, from a 9th-generation successor, I'll have you know, but reasons that the Taekwondo uniform looked more intimidating, and intimidation was the point, and no law required credentials to wear an outfit. This is the logic of the youngest concert pianist in the nation. Her hands are insured, her threat assessment is not. The walk to the cafe was a guided tour of imaginary assassins. A woman pushed a stroller past us. Cover, probably weapons under the baby. The baby was asleep. Exactly what they'd want us to think. A man across the street took a phone call facing our direction. She rotated me by the shoulders like patio furniture and stood between us. A university student in a mascot costume, a large, sun-faded bear, waved at children. That, she said grimly, is a clever one. At one point, we helped an old lady cross the road, and halfway across, Cao Lihua leaned in and whispered, "What if she's a smokescreen?" A smokescreen for what? That's what we don't know. We got the grandmother to the curb. She thanked us. Cao Lihua watched her leave with narrowed eyes until she'd fully rounded the corner, then nodded once, satisfied that we'd survived. At the cafe, she refused to sit with me. Bodyguards, she explained, sit apart to maintain sightlines, so she took the next table facing the door, back straight, radiating menace at a waiter who was just trying to deliver an iced coffee. She then spent the entire contract review leaning over from her table anyway, reading upside down, until the apart concept dissolved completely and she was at my elbow interrogating the numbers. Which is when she learned what the novel actually earned per month, mid-sip, and choked so hard the editor stood up in alarm. 10 million a month? For typing? For typing, confirmed. She stared at me, then at the contract, then at me, performing visible recalculations of everything she knew. Then why do you even sing? Because a good voice shouldn't rot in a drawer, I said. She thought about that, nodded slowly, and then delivered her verdict with the gravity of a state committee. It would be a real shame if you didn't sing. Thank you. From the woman who once asked if I was a backup singer's backup. That's a knighthood. The editor, meanwhile, had recognized her about 4 minutes in and was quietly experiencing the best day of his professional life, sitting across from both the country's hottest author-singer and the untouchable Cao Luan, who was at that moment threatening a decorative plant she deemed suspicious. He got both autographs. He earned them. He kept his composure right up until we left, and then, I'm told, called his entire editorial department from the sidewalk. Walking home, she was quiet for a stretch, rare, notable, slightly alarming, and then said, not looking at me, "You know I didn't actually come for security." "I know. You came for the free dessert." "I came for the free dessert," she agreed instantly, gratefully, and we let it sit there in the sun, both of us knowing the dessert had nothing to do with it, neither of us ready to say so yet, and the fake Taekwondo belt swinging between us like a metronome keeping time for a song that hadn't decided its key. I gave the plant a wide berth on the way past, though. Her instincts had earned that much. With the revenge arc filed under complete, life entered its harvest season, and the harvests came in fast. First, Sister Yue showed up at my new place at 10 a.m., holding a folder like it was a newborn. Inside, a fresh Blue Star contract. 5 songs, each over 1 million downloads, the bet I'd made at that restaurant table with 3 sharks watching. Paid in full, ahead of schedule. My split, 70%, company stamp already on it. She watched me sign and admitted this was the first bet she'd ever been thrilled to lose. Then she took me for celebration food, where I ordered hot pot, and she stared at me, a man who could now afford a restaurant with a dress code, and sighed the sigh of a woman managing a millionaire raccoon. Second, the charity ad. Of all the brand offers stacked on her desk, I'd picked the lowest paying one. A public service announcement for the Angel Charity Foundation, a genuinely scrappy outfit running out of a 3-story brick house, partnered with national television for a Mother's Day campaign. I designed them a spot from my old world, a small kid seeing his mom wash grandma's feet, then wobbling down the hallway hauling a full basin, water sloshing everywhere, announcing, "Mom, wash your feet." And when their volunteer committee screened the storyboard, the room went from skeptical to sniffling in 90 seconds. Then, at signing, their rep nervously pre-apologized for the tiny fee, clearly braced for me to squeeze them. I crossed out the fee entirely. Put my royalties into the scholarship fund. The poor guy who'd been defending their budget nearly bowed himself into the table, apologizing for assuming I was shaking them down. Relax, brother. Some ads are for money. This one was for the version of me that once needed a stranger's kindness and didn't get it. Third, and pettiest, the album war. I announced my debut album, First Heart, my released hits plus new songs, dropping June 1st. Within hours, Huang Chao Entertainment, yes, still Huang Chao, a company with the survival instincts of a moth in a lamp store, announced that their veteran headliner Gao Chang, 10-year star, massive fan base, would release his new album, June 1st, same day. Every entertainment outlet ran the same word, showdown. His fans talked like the outcome was arithmetic, 10 years of loyalists versus a half-year rookie. Even neutral analysts called it brave of me. Elder Yuan summoned me for a pest talk, told me Gao Chang was skilled but coasting, told me not to crack under pressure. Cao Lihua created anonymous accounts to fight my haters online and got so worked up Elder Chow had to confiscate her phone at dinner. Meanwhile, at our internal war meeting, one shy junior publicist raised a trembling hand and suggested the album needed more unreleased songs to compete, so I wrote 3 new ones in 3 days, watched the recording room staff go through their now traditional stages of disbelief, and okayed the plan. Gao Chang released his title track first, Breaking the Wind. Solid, professional, instantly top of the new song chart. His camp celebrated. 2 hours later, I released mine, Boundless Oceans, Vast Skies. I need you to understand what I did there. In my old world, that song is not a song, it's a hymn. Every person who ever chased a dream against the wind knows it by heart. Forgive me for a life of loving freedom. I did it a small mercy of adaptation and let it loose on a world that had never heard it. It spread like weather. A bar singer named Chen Ming, a guy who'd been grinding the same 3 songs for a year while his crowd thinned, heard it at 1 p.m., locked himself in the break room with a guitar, and performed it that night with a speech about finally seeing light. His bar filled, then overflowed. The bar next door added the song, then the whole street. Then, I am not exaggerating, the city. Shops, restaurants, night markets, some guy's motorcycle radio at 2 a.m. Within days, Breaking the Wind versus Boundless Oceans wasn't a competition, it was a nature documentary. One song promoted by an industry, the other carried around by human beings. Gao Chang, watching the chart, privately accused the guild of rigging. His manager talked him down with the reminder that guild data is incorruptible and that saying it out loud ends careers. Then the man actually listened to my track all the way through and went quiet in the way honest musicians go quiet. He'd been sold a story about squashing a rookie. Nobody had told him the rookie was armed. June 1st. Albums drop at midnight. First day numbers. Gao Chang, 685,000. A career best for him, by the way. Champagne-worthy on any other day. Me, 700,000. A half-year rookie outsold a 10-year veteran on day 1, head-to-head, with the whole industry watching. And then the gap did what my gaps do. Day 2, I crossed 1 million. Day 5, 4 million, while his curve flattened into a plateau of quiet dignity. His fans' war chants dissolved into apology posts, then into, okay, but the rookie's album is actually incredible, then into my comment section. The man lost 1 million followers releasing his best-reviewed album, which might be the most poetically unfair thing I've ever caused, and I once got a reporter to nearly eat a microphone. Then the film directors showed up. One of my new album tracks, The Light Chaser, turned out to be exactly what every director shooting a youth story needed, and the rights to all the album songs sold out inside a week. One famous director, too slow because he'd been finishing a shoot, ended up buying a track off a colleague at double the price in their group chat, while the other directors mocked him like seagulls. Investor money, he reasoned, their problem. Somewhere in that golden month, I also bought a house, and thereby hangs a tale, because even my real estate errands can't stay boring. The Gao Chang album war also has a backstage version, which I pieced together afterward, and it upgraded my read on the man from obstacle to cautionary tale. Here's how a 10-year veteran ends up dueling a rookie. Huang Chao came to him. Post Wei Cheng, post Gu Haitao, the company was bleeding stock value and needed one clean win to change the headlines, and their pitch to Gao Chang was surgical. Your comeback album is ready anyway. Release it on the rookie's date, let the machine do the rest, harvest the veteran restores order narrative. They sweetened it with promotional spend he couldn't refuse, and, the load-bearing detail, they described me to him as a hype bubble, a talent show product, soft target. The man had been coasting on a great catalog for years. He took the fruit because it hung low. His team blitzed the announcement, his 50 million fans mobilized, his famous friends cross-promoted, and for about 2 days he genuinely believed he was performing a public service. Then my title track dropped, and Gao Chang did the thing that separates musicians from products. He actually listened to it. Alone, headphones, full length. His manager found him afterward, sitting very still, and the conversation, as relayed through the industry grapevine, went roughly, "Well? Nobody told me the bubble could write." He listened again. Then he reportedly asked the question every one of my opponents eventually asks, in the same stunned gamma. Where was this person hiding? Sir, in your patron's basement. Ask them about it. By then, the machine was rolling, and there was no exit that didn't look like surrender, so he wrote it down with more dignity than his sponsors deserved. And I want to underline the cruelest number of that week. 685,000 first-day sales was his career best. His comeback objectively succeeded, best reviews in years, biggest launch of his life, and it will be remembered forever as the album that lost. Wrong week to hit your peak, wrong opponent to hit it against. His fans grieved, then defected, then, the modern cycle, began posting apology reviews of my album from inside his comment section. He lost 1 million followers gaining his best numbers, which should be studied in business schools under victory conditions, importance of defining. The memes were merciless. The one with his album cover captioned, "Participated," chased him for months. But here's why he's a cautionary tale and not a casualty. The man took the lesson. No rigging accusations beyond one private wobble, no victim tour, no interviews about disrespect. Months later, asked about the whole affair on a talk show, Gao Chang said, and I watched this clip more than once, "I got talked into treating a musician as a marketing problem. The market corrected me. Next time I compete, it'll be because I have something to say, not something to defend." Then he added, unprompted, "The kid's album is better than mine. Buy both, but if you're only buying one, buy his." The host nearly fell off the couch. The clip trended. His follower count recovered a chunk on integrity alone, proving my long-running thesis that in the reputation economy, honesty is the only asset that appreciates after a crash. Huang Chao, for their part, learned nothing, because institutions never do. They'd now fed 3 champions into my wood chipper, a rookie, a trainee prince, and a veteran king, and their internal conclusion each time was insufficient champion. At no point did anyone in that building write the true sentence on the whiteboard. We manufactured him. We are the origin story. Every scar on me had their logo on it, and every scar had compounded into armor, and they kept scheduling collisions with the armor and invoicing themselves for the dents. Keep going, guys. My trophy shelf had space, and the year wasn't over. The house. My novel royalties had crossed 30 million yuan. The book was clearing over 10 million a month now, so I walked into the sales office of the most expensive villa compound in the city like a man buying groceries. The consultant assigned to me, a young woman named Song Qing, nearly dropped her tablet when I skipped the tour script with, "Which villas are move-in ready? I'll pay in full." We picked one in an afternoon. Nearly 80 million. I put down the deposit, scheduled the paperwork, and left, feeling very adult. That evening, her manager called me, one Liu Jing, sweetly offering to handle my contract personally, with a discount since she had more authority. Classic order snatching. Senior swoops in at the finish line, junior loses the commission. I told her I'd signed with Song Qing and I'd finish with Song Qing. Integrity matters more than a discount. She heard no and went nuclear in a way I did not see coming. By morning, the company forum had an anonymous post claiming Song Qing had slept with a client to close a villa sale. The office devoured it. Song Qing, whose commission was earmarked for her little sister's surgery, a detail that still makes my knuckles itch, was in HR processing her termination by noon. Except the client in that rumor was me. And I am not a large business owner who shrugs off gossip. I'm a public figure whose reputation is a load-bearing wall, with a manager who found the post within hours through her gossip radar cousin. So the next day, that sales floor got a visit from me, my lawyer, and 2 police officers. Defamation, reputational damage, up to 3 years. The forum post was traced in front of everyone. Liu Jing went from smug to gray in the span of one printed screenshot, got escorted out to await her court date, and Song Qing, unfired, recommissioned, quietly crying, processed my 80 million yuan full payment that afternoon. Her sister got the surgery. The sales director personally carried my contract folder like an altar boy. Sister Yue toured the finished villa, opened every one of the many, many doors, said wow 11 times, and then narrowed her eyes. Wait, you paid in full? Where? The company hasn't paid you that much. And that's how my manager learned my novel income. Standing in my new living room, making a sound like a slowly deflating air mattress. I fight for your 50,000 yuan appearance fees. You make 10 million a month. In your pajamas. Working class solidarity, Sister Yue. Someday you'll be a boss too. Hold that thought actually. It's foreshadowing. Then came awards season. The Golden Melody Awards, this world's most serious music honors, judged by actual musicians, announced nominations. And my name was on 3 lists: Best Lyricist, Best Arrangement, Best Newcomer. Unprecedented for a debut year. My competition, veterans with decade-long catalogs, ghostwriters for superstars, industry monuments. Analysts politely predicted I'd be honored to lose. Award night then, in sequence. Best Lyricist, me, for Xiao Chou. I walked up past rows of legends, delivered a humble thank you speech. The guild, my seniors, my company, my fans. I'll work harder, and sat back down to warm applause. Best Arrangement, me, for The Wind Rises. I walked up and delivered the exact same speech, word for word, same pauses. The host caught it mid-speech and started grinning. Isn't that the same speech from earlier? Yes, I said. I only prepared one. I didn't expect to be up here twice. The Hall of Legends lost its collective composure. Best Newcomer, the big one, restructured this year to crown a single winner. My old sparring partner, Zhao Han, seated one chair over, radiating hope, having spent the pre-show telling me the rules changed and my chances died. Winner, me. For the 3rd time that night, I climbed the stairs, took the trophy, leaned into the mic, and the entire audience said my speech along with me like a stadium chant. The host was wheezing. Somewhere in the broadcast van, an editor made the 3 speeches supercut before I'd even left the stage, and it outtrended the awards themselves. My legacy: undeniable genius, 1 speech, maximum efficiency. Zhao Han left empty-handed after loudly implying to our seat row that the Newcomer Award was rigged in his favor. The neighbor's response: he won Best Lyricist and Arrangement too. Were those rigged for you as well? Has been preserved by the internet for educational purposes. Backstage, the congratulations line included half the industry suddenly discovering they'd always believed in me. And one of the elders, presenting my trophy, leaned in and whispered, Elder Yuan watched the broadcast with the volume at maximum. The neighbors complained. He told the neighbors his grandson was on TV. His grandson. I stood there in a room full of trophies, and that word outweighed all 3. 2 footnotes from awards night that the broadcast didn't fully capture, for the completists. Footnote 1. The red carpet. I ruined it. Not with a scandal, with efficiency. Understand, the red carpet is where celebrities go to loiter professionally. People practice their slow walk for weeks, invent shoe malfunctions for extra camera time, drape themselves on railings like laundry. I got out of the car, the cameras converged, reporters started shouting questions about my chances, and I said thank you, the judges will decide fairly, I'll keep working hard, and walked inside at the pace of a man late for a train. Total carpet time, under a minute. The reporters were so unprepared for forward motion that several chased me to the doors. One outlet ran the headline, Lin Xuan sprints red carpet as if pursued, and honestly, accurate, I was pursued by the concept of small talk. Inside was worse, in the opposite direction. The moment I entered the hall, a polite crowd formed, and every 3rd sentence started with, Teacher Lin Xuan. Teacher. I'd been in the industry for half a year. There were people in that room whose careers were older than me, calling me teacher, pressing business cards into my hands, proposing collaborations, asking to buy lyrics. I gave everyone the same answer. If fate allows, we'll work together. Talk to my manager. Which is the industry standard polite force field, and they all pretended not to recognize it, which is also industry standard. Sister Yue collected business cards off me afterward like a blackjack dealer. Footnote 2. My seatmate. By pure cosmic mischief, the seating chart put me directly beside Xiao Han, my defeated finale rival, there on his own nomination, marinating. He opened with small talk about how the best newcomer rules had changed this year, one winner instead of 3, so your odds just collapsed, statistically. I hummed. He escalated. He had it on good authority, a relative on the inside, he implied heavily, that the winner was basically decided, and I should prepare a gracious loser's face. I asked if he wanted to bet on it. He went quiet, because the last 2 people who bet against me were, respectively, washing feet and confessing crimes. Then the wins started, and I got to watch his profile through all 3. First award, a small twitch. Second, the jaw set. By the third, when the hall was chanting my recycled speech along with me like a stadium, the man was staring at the stage with the 1,000-yard expression of someone whose inside information had been outside information all along. The people seated in front of us, veteran musicians, kept turning around after each announcement to shake my hand, reaching directly across him like he was an armrest. By the end of the night, he'd been reached across so many times he'd developed a lean. I'd feel worse about enjoying it if he hadn't spent the season trying to end my career as a favor to the man who stole my life. As it stands, I slept great. Last image from that night, the one I actually kept. Walking out with 3 trophies awkwardly stacked in my arms, they don't give you a bag, the Golden Melody Awards assume you brought staff, and my phone buzzing with a message from Elder Yuen, who had apparently learned emojis for the occasion. 17 fireworks, 1 thumbs up, and the words, "Saw it all, the neighbors have been informed. Come for dinner, bring the heavy ones." I brought all 3. He made me set them on the dinner table facing his chair, and he ate the entire meal looking at them like a man warming his hands on a fire he'd predicted. To cash in the post-awards momentum, Sister Yue booked me onto the country's most beloved variety show, Mushroom House. Slow-living countryside format, national institution hosts, Teacher Wang, a middle-aged chef-philosopher whose cooking makes grown men homesick, and Teacher Liu, the warmest host on television, plus a rotating family of young regulars. My co-guest that episode, Li Mian, a girl group alumna beloved by the entire nation for 2 things, her luck and her singing, which was famous the way natural disasters are famous. She recognized me at the village gate, short-circuited, asked for an autograph on her own sleeve, and by lunch had appointed herself my apprentice in waiting. At the welcome tea, she asked me, cameras rolling, to teach her to sing. The room froze. Teacher Wang tried to diffuse it gently. Now, some things even gods can't. She insisted. She sang 2 lines of my own song to demonstrate. Somewhere, dogs howled. My verdict, delivered with clinical calm. No breath support, no warmed voice, no technique whatsoever. She asked if there was any hope. There is. I'll write you a prescription. Boil these herbs for 49 days. The house collapsed. The internet clipped it before airtime. But then I actually took her inside to the piano for 10 minutes. Scales, breath placement, 1 simple anchor note trick. And when we came back out and she sang the chorus again, on key, with feeling, in that naturally sweet tone that had been buried under panic her whole career, the courtyard went silent in a completely different way. The live stream chat had a genuine crisis. One viewer had publicly vowed to live stream himself eating something unspeakable if she ever sang in tune. Screenshots of his vow circulated within minutes, with condolences. That night, she performed a duet with me at the village concert, and the clip, "The Man Who Fixed Li Mian in 10 Minutes, did numbers that made the show's ratings graph look like a cliff face going up. She now calls me master and sends me holiday greetings. I have a cult. It's fine. The village concert deserves its own paragraph. We invited the whole village, grandmas with stools, kids on shoulders, strung lights under the coconut palms by the sea, and I debuted 2 new songs into the warm dark. First, Summer Breeze, Lazy July Clouds, A Walk by the Water, my voice doing its best impression of a sea wind with good intentions. Mid-song, I looked into the camera, gently, deliberately, an assassin's move, and the live stream chat filled with people claiming eye contact through the screen and requesting medical attention. Then, Confession Balloon, the sweetest love song in my back catalog of 2 worlds, all Paris streetlights and shy courage. Somewhere across the country, in real time, a boy in a library finally said it out loud, and a girl said, "What took you so long?" A flower shop regular switched from lilies to roses and asked the florist to pick her own bouquet. A girl retaking her exams promised a boy she'd meet him at his university. All of them posted about it. The song became the confession soundtrack by morning. The media called me the national matchmaker. 30 million people watched that live stream. The show broke its franchise record. One person watched it with a face like a gathering storm. Cao Lihua, at home, phone in a death grip, observing me singing love songs at another woman on national television and taking notes with her jaw. When Li Mian extended her hand and pulled me into the group dance, let's call her my rehearsal partner, slammed the table hard enough to startle two elderly national treasures out of their chess game, went upstairs and booked a flight to the village, departing immediately. Elder Cao asked what was happening. The door was already closed. The two old men looked at each other, looked at the live stream, and, per their own gleeful confession later, high-fived. She landed near midnight. The production team, informed that Ku Ranran was inbound, nearly wept with gratitude and sent me to fetch her from the airport. She'd clearly spent the drive planning a cool, casual opening line. What she said, upon seeing me, was, "Why are you picking me up?" What I said, because I am a scientist of chaos, "The director's paying me 2 hairy crabs." Her expression informed me that my market rate for her company had been set insultingly low, and she didn't speak to me again until the fridge, but she stayed the whole trip. Next morning, sea fishing. She appointed herself my bodyguard for the day. She does this, it's a whole bit involving imaginary assassins, and spent the boat ride glancing sideways at me while I baited hooks for Li Mian, who was scared of the shrimp. Finally, with the deck briefly empty, she fired her prepared question with the subtlety of a harpoon. "That love song last night, who did you write it for?" "Everyone," I said. Her face fell 1 millimeter. She rephrased, leaning in. "When you sang it, who were you thinking of?" "You." I watched the sunrise happen on a human face. And then, because the universe has assigned me a role, and the role is dense protagonist, I continued. "Back when you demanded a song before agreeing to Star Night, I wrote 2. If you'd rejected A Little Sweet, that one was the backup. So, thinking of you, professionally." The fishing rod jerked. I turned to reel in an actual fish, and therefore did not see. The crew's cameras saw. The nation saw. The elders watching at home saw. 2 grandmothers in the village saw. The smile on her face freeze, crack, and slide into the sea. Professionally. I said professionally. To her. Every live stream comment for the next hour was some version of, "This man writes love songs and cannot read a single room. Guilty, Your Honor, but hold the verdict. I'm slow, not blind, and this story isn't over. I owe you one more scene from that mushroom house trip, the one where I accidentally betrayed the entire nation at a tea table, and it aired live. First afternoon, welcome tea, whole cast around the table cracking sunflower seeds. Teacher Wang, in his gentle chef-philosopher way, asked the question everyone always circles. How did a kid my age write something like Xiao Chou? He'd assumed the author was, at least his age, someone marinated in decades of life. The table went reverent. Li Mian teed it up further. What were those 2 shelved years like? The mood prepared itself for a wound. Honestly, I said, cracking a seed, my life was never as tragic as the lyrics. You just can't move that many people writing, "Things were sort of okay." Silence. Total. A production assistant froze mid-step with a kettle. Teacher Liu, unwilling to let the nation's collective catharsis die, tried CPR. But the songs on the show, the inspirational ones, those came from your struggles, surely. When you said you wrote that one to motivate yourself. "Oh, that was for the show's edit," I said. "Good television." The table made a sound like 6 people simultaneously remembering they'd cried to those songs. Zhou Peng gripped his head with both hands. Xu Yi opened his mouth, produced nothing, and closed it. Teacher Wang's face journeyed from shock through betrayal to a kind of grudging admiration, like a man discovering the fortune teller was guessing, but the fortunes all came true anyway. On the live stream, the chat had a full existential event. I cried to that song. He deceived us, with craftsmanship. Wait, so the feelings were real, but the backstory wasn't? The feelings are always real, that's the scam. I'm subscribing harder. And then, because comedy needs a beat of mercy, I added the true part. One of them I did mean, though, every word. I didn't say which. The chat spent 4 hours voting on it. They never settled it. I'll never tell. It's the one about wings, for the record. No, it isn't. See? Delicious. The other scene from that afternoon I refused to lose. Chen Ya, the show's resident little sister, 20-ish, Dimples, The survival instincts of a baby deer and the reading habits of a professor turned out to be a book fan before she was a music fan, of Chang Yun, of me without knowing it, and then with knowing it, which meant she spent the first hour orbiting me at a respectful distance like a small moon. When she finally worked up the courage, it wasn't for an autograph. She asked, cupping her chin, "Brother Lin Xuan, do you have any songs that are just happy? Pretty and light and happy?" Everyone writes about aching. The table awed. And I heard myself say, if I don't have one, I'll write one for my sister. I want to flag what happened there because the live stream caught it, and so did I. That wasn't a media answer. That was a big brother reflex from a man who's never had a sibling in 2 consecutive lives. She beamed like a lamp. The chat exploded into "she's everyone's sister" solidarity. And the next evening at the village concert, when I opened "Summer Breeze," "Lazy July," "Cool Wind off the Water," exactly the pretty light happy she'd ordered, I watched her in the front row realize the delivery had arrived and mouth, "For me?" And I nodded mid-verse, and the chat drowned in soft noises. Debt registered on national television. Debt paid on national television. 24-hour turnaround. My accounting has never been cleaner than it was that weekend, which, given what my accounting used to look like 10 months prior, 2 fried noodle dinners a week and a popularity score of 5, still makes me laugh every single time. Back in the city, Cao Lihua stopped speaking to me for approximately 1 dinner, then escalated to the opposite strategy, and this is where Elder Yuan, a man with a 50-year-old legendary courtship of his own late wife, appointed himself her romance coach. I reconstructed all of this afterward from 3 separate gleeful confessions, and I present it to you as the trilogy it was. Operation 1, the gift. Elder Yuan's wisdom. Give him your most precious thing. She misunderstood that sentence first, went scarlet, and had to be clarified at. So she cornered me in the living room and thrust out a wrapped pink box, apropos of absolutely nothing, with the line, "I realized I've never given you a gift." Now, from my side of reality, a famously mischievous woman who'd been radiating stormfront energy at me for days was suddenly handing me an unmarked box. Unsolicited kindness is either a scheme or a prank, and with her, historically, pranks. My phone buzzed. I said, "Sorry, have to take this," and evacuated the premises. Behind me, I'm told, she turned to Elder Yuan with a look that could sour milk, and the old man suddenly became extremely busy looking for the reading glasses that were on his face. Operation 2, the care offensive. Wisdom. Be there when he needs you. Make yourself unforgettable. Execution. At tea that afternoon, she intercepted every single thing I reached for. The cup, the pot, the cup again, culminating in her snatching a freshly poured cup of near-boiling tea out of my hand and scalding her fingers. I dragged her to the kitchen sink and held her hand under cold water while lecturing her about tea table etiquette, like a disappointed schoolteacher, which, I have since been informed by every woman I know, was not the moment's assigned genre. Her fingers were fine. Her dignity required ice. Operation 3, the stomach gambit. Wisdom. The way to a heart is through food. Your Grandma Chin loved my cooking so much she took me on every business trip. That part was true, and the old man's eyes went somewhere far away and soft when he said it, and both of them sat quiet for a second. Execution. Cao Lihua, a woman who had never in her life cooked so much as an egg, whose hands were insured national assets, overheard that my favorite dish was sweet and sour ribs, and spent the entire afternoon in the kitchen with our long-suffering housekeeper. At dinner, a platter of ribs appeared that were the color of regret. Elder Chow, unbriefed, took the first bite and made a sound usually associated with exorcisms. She'd used salt instead of sugar, and something else instead of several other things. She fled to the kitchen with the platter. I found her in the garden, on the swing, wilted like week-old celery, and learned the whole truth. The ribs were hers, for me, and she'd burned her pianist hands again, making them. And there, on that swing, several gears that had been grinding in my chest for weeks finally clicked. The gift, the tea, the flight to a fishing village at midnight, the face on the boat. I didn't make a speech. I just reached over and rubbed her head, the way you do with the one person allowed to be ridiculous around you, and said, "Next time, just tell me. I'll eat anything you make. Even the weaponized ribs." She sniffled, called me an idiot with unprecedented tenderness, and we went back inside to dinner, where 2 elderly legends were watching us through the window with the shameless attention of men at a zoo enclosure. Elder Yuan whispered something to Elder Chow. Elder Chow whispered back. They toasted each other. For the record, since everyone asks, yes, I knew what was happening by then, and no, I didn't rush it. She was Elder Chow's treasure and my favorite person to argue with, and some songs you don't release until they're ready. But from that dinner on, there was an understanding between us, with no name on it yet, and both of us stopped pretending the rehearsals had ever been about rehearsing. Life, of course, immediately invoiced me for the happiness. It came dressed as a meeting. Blue Star's full shareholder assembly, and I was the agenda. Because here's what my half year had done to their books. Every song a chart topper, an album that outsold a decade veteran, 3 Golden Melody Awards, a Diamond certified national phenomenon, plus the small matter of being the guild founder's successor. I wasn't an artist anymore. I was a revenue department with a haircut, and the sharks had begun to circle their own aquarium. At the meeting, one faction, led by a general manager Jin, a man with the moral texture of wet cardboard, argued openly for maximizing the window. Pack my schedule with every ad, drama cameo, and endorsement money could buy. Wring the fad dry in 3 years. Discard the husk. The sentence, singers fade, cash doesn't, was spoken aloud, in front of me, by a man wearing a watch worth a nurse's annual salary. Another faction objected, not out of affection, but because their projections showed the goose's eggs outvalued the goose's meat. I sat through it with a pleasant expression, being discussed like a delivery route. Chairman Zhou Jing gavelled it down with a grand declaration. From now on, he would personally oversee my career. Protection from the vultures. Applause. Sister Yue exhaled in relief. I didn't. Because when a chairman personally takes custody of an asset, the vultures haven't been chased off. They've been outranked. I gave it days, not weeks. It took 2. 2 days later, Sister Yue and I were summoned to the chairman's office, where Zhou Jing sat beside a polished young woman introduced as Zhou Ning. The chairman opened with warm praise for Sister Yue's decade of service, her tireless work, her, you can hear it coming, can't you, her well-earned rest. Effective immediately, she'd be relieved of artist duties. My management would transfer to Zhou Ning here. Promotion and paid leave for Sister Yue, of course. Everyone wins. I watched my manager's knuckles go white behind her back. 10 years of loyalty, one artist finally pays off, and the chairman strolls in at harvest time to hand her orchard to, and this detail surfaced later through the company grapevine, courtesy of Chin Cici's intelligence network, his own recently acknowledged illegitimate daughter, being fast-tracked to inherit the empire. Who needed one guaranteed hit artist on her resume? Me. I was the resume. Sister Yue refused. Voice shaking, career on the table, she refused, and even threatened to walk out and talk. Zhou Jing's smile got 1 degree colder, the smile of a man holding all the cards and most of the deck, and Zhou Ning suggested, silkily, that perhaps they should ask the artist, since surely the artist could see which manager came with better resources. Everyone turned to me. The chairman's plan isn't unreasonable, I began, and watched Sister Yue's face go through betrayal in real time. Sorry about that part, truly. But Sister Yue has taken care of me from day one, so I'll ask her for one last favor as my manager. I turned to her. Sister Yue, please handle my contract termination with Blue Star. The room stopped. Zhou Jing's smile fell off his face and shattered somewhere near his shoes. He recovered fast. Think carefully. No company out there tops Blue Star. Don't throw away your future over sentiment. And when I didn't blink, he pivoted to Sister Yue, the woman he'd been strangling 30 seconds earlier. Han Yue, talk sense into him. Sister Yue looked at him for a long, delicious moment. Sounds right to me, she said. It's only a top 3 company, not number 1. And she resigned on the spot. We packed her office together that afternoon. Termination penalties. Paid. Pocket change now, thanks to a certain novel. The public statement said amicable separation, and the internet, which is many things but not stupid, decoded the truth within a day, mostly accurately. Half the industry's companies came courting within the week, including, and I need you to sit down, Huang Chao Entertainment, who sent an offer with a straight face. The company that shelved me, smeared me, and sicked 2 villains on me invited me back with sincere compensation. The internet's response, verbatim from the top comment, if Lin Xuan returns to Huang Chao, I'll eat my router. Sister Yue, buzzing with freedom and adrenaline, asked what was next. Which giant do we sign with? None of them, I said. We're building our own. She laughed, then saw my face, then sat down. Her objections were textbook and correct. Half a year in the industry, no company building experience, agencies live and die on decades of connections. All true. But I had 3 things nobody's spreadsheet accounted for. A system with an entire civilization's entertainment catalog in it, a national fan base across 2 art forms, and one very specific old man. I went to Elder Yuan's villa and laid it out. I was starting a company, and I was shameless enough to ask the founder of the Singers Guild to be its godfather. The old man heard me out, then heard my actual pitch. Someday, I'll lead the guild to the top of the world, so consider this an early investment in your own legacy, and slapped the armrest with delight. Good, that's a successor talking. I'll open doors, walking through them is on you. Embarrass yourself all you want, you don't represent me. But don't you dare lose your credibility. That's the only currency that doesn't devalue. Then he lent me a 3-story villa as headquarters at a suspiciously friendly rent, and started making calls with the enthusiasm of a man handed a second youth. Fengxing Entertainment, yes, named after the pen name, my branding department is me, opened its doors within the month. Opening day looked like a state function. Guild elders' flower baskets stacked to the ceiling, and a receiving line of company bosses who'd come for Elder Yuan's sake, and left having signed actual cooperation contracts, because I refused to let anyone leave with just a handshake. 50 deals, day 1. Sister Yue became general manager with a 5% stake. She tried to refuse it. I explained that a captain who won't take shares is a passenger, and she swore on the spot the company would outlive us both. That evening, 2 familiar silhouettes appeared at the office door with suitcases. Wang Tao and Sun Jia, my old bandmates, had terminated their Blue Star contracts, paid their own penalties, and come to sign with a company that was 4 hours old. Wang Tao's entire negotiation. You don't provide dorms? I'm homeless for you, and there's no dorm? They stayed at my villa that night. We talked until 3 a.m. like the band never stopped, and I quietly reran the math on my life. 2 years ago, this body ate alone 365 days a year. Now I couldn't get these people to leave. And a few days later, the doorbell of my new company rang one more time. Cao Lihua, arms crossed, chin up. Is Fengxing signing artists or not? The national pianist. The woman who'd sworn off the entertainment industry on principle. Signing with a company younger than the milk in my fridge. I drew up the contract with shaking pen. Her signing fee demand was 20 million, delivered with a grin. And since day 1, Fengxing had roughly the liquidity of a lemonade stand, she accepted an IOU. Elder Cao nearly had an aneurysm when she showed him, "You signed for a note?" And she just shrugged. "I'm not here for the money. I'm here to keep an eye on my investment." She did not specify whether the investment was the company. She did not need to. The announcement hashtag broke the internet for a day. And with a guild-blessed label, a superstar signing, 2 loyal artists, and the best manager in the industry, I was officially armed. All I needed now was ammunition. Time to open the system shop's most expensive shelf. My popularity balance had swollen to 20 million points, so that night I went shopping in the system like a man in an armory. First purchase, a complete drama script from my old world, Together Through the Window, a low-budget campus comedy about 4 broke film students that had made an entire generation laugh until they cried, and then just cried. Perfect first project. Cheap to shoot, no stars needed, pure writing. Second purchase, 10 million points, the god-tier director skill. The knowledge poured in like someone upending a film school into my skull. Shot composition, blocking, lighting, editing theory, a century of craft. I sat there afterward with a nosebleed-adjacent headache and the sudden ability to storyboard in my sleep. Sister Yue's reaction to, "I wrote a drama script, also I'll be directing it," deserves preservation. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it, and finally said, "You know what? Fine, sure. You probably direct too. Why not? Acceptance stage management. I love her." We cast entirely from our own newly signed stable of unknowns. I fed profits inward on principle, and the audition room discovered the script was a hazard. Actors kept breaking mid-read because the lines were too funny, and one candidate had to leave the room to stop laughing. The roles clicked one by one. Our loyal musclehead, our deadpan schemer, our tall guy with exam trauma, our heroine with a spine of steel. 2 days later, we had a full cast of hungry nobodies who looked at the script like a lottery ticket, which, well, historically accurate. Then I directed my first production, and let me summarize the crew's emotional journey, because they've all told me since. Day 1, morning, polite skepticism, a 22-year-old singer boss playing director, hide your eye rolls. Day 1, afternoon, confusion. The boss just corrected the lighting rig's color temperature, redesigned a camera move, and quietly fixed an actress's over-heavy eyeshadow, all before lunch. Day 1, evening, A young intern cameraman openly talked back about a lighting call, got shown the difference on the monitor side by side, and spent the rest of the shoot following me around like a duckling with a light meter. Day 3. I arrived hauling crates of drinks and an actual refrigerator for the summer heat, and personally guarded the equipment through lunch, squatting in the sun with a boxed meal, and the last cynic on payroll defected. By week 2, the crew had built a cult of personality I did nothing to discourage, with sayings. Getting scolded by director Shen feels weirdly motivating, was one. I feel uneasy on days he doesn't scold me, was another, which frankly says more about them than me. The shoot wrapped in under 2 months, half a month early. What we'd made was a campus story about military training mishaps, toilet paper emergencies, and disastrous crushes. Plus one New Year's Eve phone call that made the entire crew cry on set. The lonely kid watching fireworks through a taxi window while his 2 best friends narrate the colors to him over the phone. Purple, red, green, purple. Happy New Year, Mr. Shu. If you've been the kid in that taxi even once, that scene owns a piece of you forever. I called the final cut, announced the wrap, and got mobbed like we'd won a war. Cao Lihua appeared at the wrap party with a bouquet and the timing of a woman staking a claim, to the crew's delighted scandal-mongering. The cast toasted me until my ears rang. And then came post-production, where I discovered the funniest side effect of the director's skill. I already knew the finished film. Every cut. So the rough cut came out as the final cut in one pass, at a speed that made our hired editors question their life choices and their reality. One of them asked how I could possibly hold every frame in my head. Brother, I've seen this show more times than you've had hot dinners. I just couldn't tell him that. I recorded the theme song myself, a soft, achy campus anthem about the arrogance of being young, and handed the ending and insert songs to Wang Tao and Sun Jia, because a company where only the boss shines is a lamp, not a company. Then, distribution. And here I got to dust off my favorite party trick. Sister Yue had submitted the finished drama to every major streaming platform simultaneously, insurance, in case the big ones passed. Instead, all of them bit. The country's 3 streaming giants all wanted it, 2 offering to buy the rights outright, 1 offering revenue share. So I booked 1 private dining room and invited all 3 negotiators to the same table at the same time, and watched 3 of the most powerful content buyers in the country walk in, see each other, and wear the exact expression those 3 company bosses had worn a lifetime ago at the Mei Li restaurant. One of them actually said, "You've done this before. Sir, I have a technique. It has a name. In my head, it's called the aquarium." The bidding did what bidding does in an aquarium. Buyout offers climbed. 3 million, then 4.5. The Revenueverse platform sweetened to a signing bonus plus premium placement. And Mango Video's negotiator, a sharp, cornered woman named Liu Bing, whose career, I'd learn later, was riding on finding one hit, went all in. Homepage placement, a 2 million advance, and a 20-80 revenue split. 80. To us. The buyout men warned me gravely that share deals are gambling, that unknowns with no stars should take the sure money, and a wiser rookie would have. But I'd seen this show's first life. I knew exactly what was in the chamber. Deal, I told Liu Bing. One of the losing buyers left me his card anyway, for the next one, which is how you know the aquarium worked. Contract signed, air date set. And then Liu Bing called with the bad news that always arrives after the champagne. Our premiere date was shared. Same day, same platform, with a big-budget youth drama from Xu Dong, one of the most decorated directors in the country, starring A-list faces, with the platform's entire promotional artillery already committed to it. Our homepage slot had been quietly downgraded within 6 hours. Her advice, delivered with the gallows honesty of a woman betting her own job on us. Don't waste money promoting against that tidal wave. Just hope. Sister Yue was furious. I wasn't. Tidal waves are only a problem if you're made of sand. Relax, I told them both. Let the big ship fire all its cannons. We're not a ship. We were a leak, and leaks win. 3 postcards from that first shoot before I tell you how the gamble landed. Postcard 1, the table read that broke the table read. Casting our 9 unknowns was easy. Getting through auditions was not, because the script kept detonating the room. One actor had to read the deadpan schemer's self-introduction. My name is B. Shishan, as in 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And the actor reading opposite him corpsed so hard he had to leave the room, come back, apologize, and leave again. Another scene required a straight face while delivering directions to the dormitory toilet. Just follow the smell. And we burned 4 takes on set because the boom operator, a grown professional, kept making a strangled kettle noise off camera. I finally had to institute an official rule: laugh before the slate or after the cut. The crew called it the Shen Law. It was violated daily. I find no one because, honestly, a comedy set that can't stop laughing is a quality control system that pays for itself. Postcard 2, the taxi monologue. The show opens with our pessimist hero riding to campus, while a chatterbox driver conducts an entire warm friendship with him single-handedly. The kid says only his destination, and the driver concludes he's a very sensible young man, then asks how long he's been a teacher. The actor playing the driver was a 50-year-old bit player who'd spent 20 years doing 2-line roles, and he begged me for one more take, then another, polishing that monologue like a jeweler. On the final take, the whole video village was biting sleeves. When I called it and told him that scene would be the first thing the country saw, the man got misty. It was the first thing the country saw. His phone hasn't stopped ringing since, and every time I see him booked in something, I feel like a man watching his garden come up. Postcard 3, the fireworks call. The New Year's scene. The lonely kid in the taxi, his 2 best friends on the phone narrating firework colors to him because he can't be there. On paper, it's 3 pages of people saying colors: purple, red, green, purple. I shot it in one continuous close-up, and I told our lead exactly one thing before the take. Don't cry until you absolutely lose. The scene is about not crying. He held it and lost it exactly 1 line too late, which is to say, perfectly. When I called cut, the set was silent, and then our tough guy gaffer blew his nose like a fairy horn, and everyone pretended not to hear it. Second Shen Law. What happens after an emotional cut stays after the cut. And one more, a free postcard from post-production. The Editing Bay, Week 1. I sat with our 2 hired editors and assembled the pilot at a speed that made them physically uncomfortable. No hunting, no maybes, every cut called in advance. Because I wasn't editing a show, I was transcribing one I'd already seen a dozen times in another life. By day 3, one editor had stopped editing entirely and just watched me with the expression of a man auditing a magic trick. It's like the finished film is already in your head, he said. Brother, buddy, if only you knew the storage format. When we locked the last episode, I stood everyone down for a day of sleep. They'd earned it, and half of them had been dozing in chairs out of loyalty because nobody wanted to leave before the boss. I threatened to dock the wages of anyone who came in early. They believed me by then, which was its own kind of trophy. And the next morning we had a finished show in the vault, a theme song recorded, my 2 best friends on the insert tracks, and a platform war about to start over a drama starring 9 nobodies and a taxi driver. One last hero needs her chapter before the finale, Liu Bing, the Mango video reviewer who bet her job on 9 nobodies, because I only learned her full story after the numbers came in, and it recontextualized the entire deal. Liu Bing ran a review team in Mango's web drama department, and at the time my submission hit her queue, she was a dead woman walking. 3 months without signing a hit. Her editor-in-chief, a man whose leadership style was passive aggression with a lanyard, had taken to announcing other teams' successes at full volume while staring at her desk, and had given her until month's end to deliver or clear out. The office pettiness had reached the point where he sneered at her for taking coffee from the break room, consuming company resources without producing, and she, magnificently, replied that at least she didn't take company resources home, having personally watched him squirrel 2 packs of instant coffee and a sleeve of biscuits into his backpack the week before. Witnesses present. The man's face, reportedly, achieved a shade previously unknown to interior lighting. She clicked away on her heels like a woman who'd already been fired in her heart and found it freeing. That was the person who opened Together Through the Window on a random afternoon. Nothing left to lose, standards fully intact. She pressed play, planning to give it the professional minimum. 3 episodes, verdict, next file. She surfaced at 5 p.m. Having watched 10, having laughed loudly enough that her own team quietly diagnosed a stress breakdown, and having missed lunch, which her body reported and her brain overruled, her professional assessment, in her own words from the signing dinner, no famous faces, no famous director, and I couldn't stop, and I've watched 1,000 dramas in 2 years, and I stopped being able to feel them, and this one made me feel like a viewer again, and that is the whole job, so I decided to bet my badge on it. She marched into the editor-in-chief's office and requested acquisition funds. Then, at the aquarium dinner, when rival platforms drove the price into buyout territory she couldn't match, she went back and extracted permission for the nuclear option instead. Homepage placement plus a 20/80 revenue split. Terms so aggressive that if the show flopped, there wouldn't be a desk to clear because they'd mail her the desk. Her editor-in-chief signed off with the transparent glee of a man approving his rival's plank walk. If it failed, she was gone, with receipts. If it worked, well, surely it wouldn't. So now replay premiere night from her side. The promotional machine gets yanked to the big-name drama next door. Her acquisition sits below the fold, undecorated. She goes home, doesn't sleep, watches the rival premiere get eaten alive by its own comment section, refreshes our numbers hourly as the strange midnight current builds, word of mouth, the one force no marketing department can requisition. And at 9 a.m., she's at her desk, staring at a dashboard she doesn't trust. 9.5 rating, 100,000 reviews, comments tracking clicks nearly 1-to-1, every line on the graph doing a hockey stick impression. The editor-in-chief arrived that morning to announce, at volume, some other team's news. Liu Bing didn't even stand up. She just rotated her monitor toward the aisle and let the dashboard speak. I'm told the silence lasted long enough to be structural, and that by the end of the week, the man was introducing her to executives as a talent he had developed, because institutional memory is written in pencil and shamelessness is written in stone. She called me that afternoon, voice still uneven, to say congratulations and to confess the part about the job being on the line. I told her the truth. You didn't gamble on my show. You gambled on your own taste. That's the only bet in this industry that's never actually a gamble. Then I told her to negotiate her raise before the Season 2 conversation, not after, because leverage has a shelf life. She got the raise. We got a partner for life. And somewhere in that building, a man with a backpack full of stolen biscuits tells people he discovered us. Let him. History keeps its own dashboard. Premiere night, 8 p.m. The whole country clicked on Shudong's youthful years, exactly as scheduled. Banner at the top of the homepage, A-list cast, 8 episodes at once. Our little show sat below the fold, undecorated, like a folding chair at a coronation. And then the country actually watched Youthful Years. I'll let a professional describe it. Zhao Rue, a drama critic with millions of followers and a tongue like a box cutter, had been counting down the days for the Shudong premiere. She lasted 3 episodes. Her notes, a car crash, an amnesia, a poor but kind heroine, a plot older than the actors, and a lead performance she described as spiritual nourishment recalled due to contamination. She checked the comments. The nation agreed. The review section was a landfill of one-word verdicts. Bored, betrayed, and unwilling to waste the evening, she scrolled down and found an unpromoted little campus drama with a nobody cast directed by, wait, the singer? The plum guy? That Lin Xuan? She pressed play out of pure rubbernecking. She did not press stop until 2 a.m. The taxi driver cold open got her. The toilet paper catastrophe broke her. The military training farewell, the drill instructor everyone hated getting a spontaneous push-up salute from 100 students, ambushed her into actual tears, because everyone in this country has an instructor-shaped memory they haven't opened in years. Somewhere past midnight, she realized this show had no car crashes, no amnesia, no villains at all, just 9 ridiculous, precious young people being young at each other, and that she'd laughed and cried more in one night than in her previous year of professional viewing. At 3:30 a.m., a woman with work in 5 hours voluntarily wrote a 2,000-word love letter of a review and fired it from every account she owned. Her first passionate review in 2 years, she admitted in the text. The comments under it filled with, same, watched it all, who is this director, before the sun came up. She was not alone. All night, the trickle became a current. Viewers finishing the big premiere unsatisfied, wandering downstream, finding us, staying, dragging friends back by the collar. No marketing, no push, just the oldest algorithm on Earth, a human grabbing another human and saying you have to see this. At Mango Video the next morning, Liu Bing, our gambler, who'd been told by her editor-in-chief to find a hit or clean out her desk, logged into the backstage dashboard, expecting modest numbers and a long day of apologizing. She stared at the screen, refreshed. Refreshed again with the specific violence of a woman who doesn't trust her monitor. Rating, 9.5 out of 10 from nearly 100,000 reviews overnight. A comment count nearly matching the click count, the statistical signature of a show people don't just watch, but need to talk about. Every curve on the dashboard bending upward like it had somewhere to be. The big-budget battleship next door sat at a polite 7-ish and sinking, its promotional artillery now cheerfully redirecting cannonballs into its own reputation, while our unmarked little leak was flooding the entire deck. This, Liu Bing reportedly said to the empty office, deserved a real campaign, and then went to have a very different conversation with her editor-in-chief than the one she'd been rehearsing. And me? I got the news over breakfast in my villa, the one bought with novel money, in the city where I once budgeted 9 yuan for noodles. Cao Lihua's 20 million IOU hung framed on the wall like the world's most expensive joke, and my phone kept lighting up with numbers that meant one thing. My company's first ever production, cast entirely with nobodies, written and directed by a man who'd been an unemployable ghost 10 months ago, was about to become the thing everyone in the country was watching. 10 months. Let me do the arithmetic for you, because I earned it. 10 months ago, a shelved ex-idol with 5 popularity points, a moldy rented room, and a plate of fried noodles for a celebration dinner, forbidden from singing in bars by a man who feared what I'd become. Since then, 4 songs certified into legend, 2 golden diamond discs, 3 golden melody trophies, a national phenomenon novel, a championship won without dropping a single vote, the traitor who buried me confessing on his knees to 50 million followers, the executive who signed my burial order sentenced to life, and now my own name on the door of a company with the guild's founder calling me grandson, and the country's greatest pianist keeping an eye on her investment. The old chairman said I'd never find a better company than Blue Star. He was right, so I built one. Was everything finished? Please. The drama was still climbing with no ceiling in sight. The company was 1 hit old with 50 contracts to honor. Somewhere out there, Blue Star's chairman was watching my numbers and doing regret-flavored math, and Huang Chao still owed the universe a final installment of consequences. And in my kitchen, a certain pianist was, at that exact moment, attempting sweet and sour ribs, round 2, with the sugar and salt jars now labeled in her own furious handwriting, because she'd sworn I would eat 1 edible plate of ribs from her hands if it took her 100 tries. I could hear her humming in there. My song, by the way, off the new album, track 7, the love song I once told her, like an idiot, that I'd written professionally. The next verse was already writing itself, and this time, for the first time all year, I wasn't planning to be slow.